Fun day. Okay, buddy, Hassan today. Yeah, potentially. Yes, potentially. There is a trumpet Walter Reed lid called, a rumor swirling around. I'm not going to lean into it because evil never dies. You already know. Until we have full confirmation, I'm not gonna make any sort of speculations. We will. But yeah, we'll do some fun stuff today for sure. We'll do some fun stuff today. We have to, right? Because there's no fun. We're no fun having ass. We're becoming too woke and too leftist. Like, we're becoming the no fun leftists. I don't like that. But in any case, where was I? Game theory won the collapse of U.S. empire, man carrying thing.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay. I'm doing much better than I did yesterday. Nice. So, this is part of the broadcast where I tell you about my personal news about what's going on in the world of Hasanabi pipe cream between time period where I press the stop streaming button and press the start streaming button. So help me God, that's precisely what I'm gonna do. Let me get to you right now. Let me give it to you right now.
Gay and Lebanese.
Last night I did the broadcast. You guys already know. Little 8-hour sesh, not a big deal. I hit the finishing touches, the finishing notes on the Cuba doc. Had to do some reshoots on the VOs. Got some editing notes from Noah Culwin. And right after that, I put on a suit and I got in an Uber and got to the Chapo Trap House 10th anniversary show. Okay. Now, I don't know if there's any photos of that at all. I don't know if there's any photos of the event at all. I did not wear my Mao Zedong suit, but it was casino themed, so I put on a whole suit. I met Jacques. For those of you who are Seeking Derangements fans, I met the whole crew. I saw the E1 boys in person. That was fantastic. That was fun, and yeah, it was a great experience. Lots of friends. And yeah, that's what I got, honestly. And then afterwards, I had set up an after party for them through our friends, because Felix was trying to set it up himself, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, let me fucking handle this. Like, this is my hood, this is my territory. I know people. I got you, right? Oh, this is what it looked like. Chapo 10th attenders. Hassan's head does look really small. No, it doesn't. It's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That's a slur. You're slurring me. This is hateful. You're hateful. You're a chud. But looking handsome, all. Thank you. I can't believe it's been 10 years. Only thing different about me is I'm much more left and sober. Law. Good. Congratulations on both. So wait, what? Did you break my toilet seat? Oh my God, Austin, you are such a fucking menace, bro. That's crazy. You're such a goddamn menace, bro. You broke my toilet seat.
What?
Here, come and give your fucking
story.
Explain what you just fucking did.
Hold on.
Explain what you just fucking did.
Well, I went pee, God forbid, and I fucking put up the lid as you do because I didn't want to pee on the toilet seat, and the whole fucking toilet seat came off. It like completely ripped off, like
bro. I can't even tell you like half of the shit that he did while he was staying here without
it came
even
off. What am I supposed to do?
He didn't even tell me. He didn't even tell me that he was staying in my house. He told my team.
By the way,
he told my team.
I
right?
did.
He doesn't even communicate with me anymore. When he knows it's like something that's a nuisance, he just like directly goes to my team, and he knows that they'll say yes because it's whatever, right? So that's what he keeps doing.
Yeah,
I didn't even know this motherfucker was staying in my house, and on top of that, there's a lot of spoilers that I'm not going to give you from this week's Fear and podcast, especially the paywall side.
Yeah,
but he is a fucking menace, dude.
Oh yeah,
he's a goddamn menace.
Well, first of all, there's a couple things in that room that needs to be fixed. Okay, number one, the toilet seat's completely off. I put it back in there, so next person who uses it is going to figure out it's broken. Number one. Number two, there's no body wash in the bathroom. I had to wash myself with shampoo. Really? Yeah, there's no body wash.
That's you. these are both things that you communicate to me instead of just like leaving it up for the next person to figure out.
It's been this way for the last year. I always shower with shampoo.
Why don't you just tell me what the fuck?
Because I don't know. Because I don't want to be. I don't want to be too much.
You think I don't have body wash?
I think it's too much. I don't want to be too much. I want to
No,
be.
you don't think it's too much. You have no filter. No. And no restraints when it comes to the stuff that you did that we found out on the Fear and podcast, which I will not be revealing. Okay. But I really want to because you would get cooked. So if
now that you brought it up, I got a punch list. Okay. More body wash. Okay. Number two, the toilet seat needs to be reattached.
Because you ripped it. Because you broke it.
Number three, as I was leaving, I pulled the door and the handle came off again. And I don't know why it keeps detaching, but it does.
That one's tough. I don't know why.
And the third one, and the fourth one, or third one, is the lighting is too bright. So last night when I was sitting in bed, I was like, there's no in between. It's either full darkness or way too bright of a light. So you need like a more like a dim lit or a controllable lamp that I can reduce the lighting of, and I can just sit in sort of dim lighting in the bedroom while I sit in bed, because who wants to fucking have just bright light or sit in the dark? Am I right?
Yeah,
am I right,
you're so right.
Am I right or wrong? Right?
You're so right.
Who wants to sit in bright light or darkness? There's got to be some sort of in between, right? And I frankly, I don't know how you've gotten so much shit for having a mansion. This place is a fucking mess.
Okay.
All right? It's falling apart at the seams.
He's
all right?
such
This
a fucking
is a
diva.
socialist house.
He's such a goddamn diva. It's unbelievable. He's the biggest diva.
This is socialism. This is socialism.
Does this on run a hotel? Not to my knowledge until recently. Apparently I do, and not even well. But I run a hotel and it's not even good. Apparently,
I've told him this over and over again. Okay. Well, let me give you your flowers. That bed is the most comfortable bed I've ever slept in.
Yeah, he was talking about how it's like the best sleep he's ever had.
Yeah, no, I woke up like completely asleep, or excuse me, I woke up like with forgetting how I went to sleep. It was like amazing.
Yeah, maybe because you're a goddamn menace and you ate like an entire thing of.
Don't say anything.
Okay, I'm not even gonna say anything.
You can't say anything. It's gonna reveal for the podcast.
You're like a fucking
yeah.
You're like a parasite. You're like
yeah. No. But I offer you because the Fear and is going on tour. Okay. And when we go to Portland, you're fucking soundboard.
Why did you say that?
Have you been hitting that recently or not
no,
really as
I
much?
haven't.
You need to hit it more because people haven't been talking about it. And I noticed.
Okay.
I noticed.
You know, you could have pulled a chair, but anyway.
I have to go.
I gotta get started.
You're kicking me out. But anyway, I just want to let you know when we go to Portland, you can stay at my house. Okay. I've got a nice bed for you.
I don't want to stay at your house.
It's only queens though. I only have queens in my guest rooms. I hope you'd be okay with that.
Wow, I gave you the king.
No, that's a double. That's a twin. That's a double bed. It ain't a queen.
It's not a queen.
No, it ain't a queen. It's a double. But I can fit in it. But look.
Oh my God.
Okay,
I'm glad you can fit in it.
Have a good week. And good luck at monitoring the situation.
Okay.
I'll be monitoring as well.
Okay. All right. Bye, Austin. Bye. All right. That was Austin Show, who is...
I'm gay and Lebanese.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, where was I? We were talking about personal news, but yeah. Have you seen Ben Moore's show, Interior Motives? Yes, I'm gonna be doing his show, Interior Motives, as a matter of fact. He asked me to do it, and we might even do it on the stream, and we might even get Luscious Massacre to do it with us. So... where was I? What was I going to say? Oh, so yeah. So I did the Chapo show. My head looked perfectly sized, appropriately sized, as you can see, for my body, even from this distance, even with this angle. The show was great. It was very funny. People loved it. And then I set up this after party for them that they were supposed to set up, and I got like a friend who does events management here. This is the city for that sort of thing. To put it together. We went to this like cool bar lounge. We had our nice little private area for ourselves. Oh, Austin, I met the guy who made Neighbors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's dope. No, I haven't, but now I'm definitely gonna watch because he explained to me like the trials and tribulations he went through to put it together. Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. for me, I had 2 beers and it cooked me. I had 2 beers and it absolutely cooked me. This morning I woke up, I was doing an interview before the podcast about like the Iran war and the Democratic Party's like, incompetence in dealing with the Iran war. And I was hungover from 2 beers. It's crazy. I had to leave super early. I don't like being 34. I don't like being old. Unk is old. I mean, Unk's got white beards. Actually, what the fuck happened? Didn't I used to have like way whiter beard? Like, I feel like I used to have way whiter beard hair. Am I crazy? Is it still there? I can't see from this side. And now there's like white beard hairs like coming out of this part, and then my hair is starting to get white too a little bit. Like, I'm gonna be Unk is getting up there. Unk is getting up there in age. Unk is gonna have white hair soon. So you need a trim. I definitely do need a trim. I'm getting old. I haven't been taking care of myself. I'm a chud ass loser, as you guys know. And politics do that. I agree. Politics does have a tendency to greatly age you. So a bit more MSM in your diet. Well, what, like mainstream media in my diet? You're getting hotter, to be honest. It's kind of disgusting. Thank you for saying that. I don't know if that's the case, but I'll take your word for it. Restore some of your youth back with the Zohran victory. Hopefully, inshallah. Yeah. Hair is silky smooth today. You got to get back on skincare. Yeah, I've fallen off on skincare. You're going to look like an IRGC official by the end of the Trump presidency? Nah, but the Silver Fox look is valid. Stop trying to unk max. Okay. Anyway, but that's it. That's what I got on personal news. Woke up this morning and, my shit was busted from simply being an old man. What is this? Has Benny been remorseful about his genocidal rhetoric? That motherfucker debated everyone stubbornly like an asshole. He doesn't deserve time. Is it a contentious show? What? Benny? Who? What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're referencing. What? Benny Morris? What does that have to do with anything? Benny Johnson? Benny Morris? Did I bring up any of these names? I don't even understand where Benny Morris came from. Didn't Benny debate Norm? Okay. I was talking about Ben Mora, not Benny Morris, dude. You think last night I was at the Chapo 10-year anniversary and Israeli new historian Benny Morris was there and he was telling me about being on his show alongside Luscious Massacre? Like, in your mind, you thought Israeli historian Benny Morris approached me and said, hey, I have a show that you should be on. And Luscious Massacre is also going to be on the show. And you thought to yourself, well, obviously, the real question here that I have is not why Israeli historian Benny Morris is like has a gay show where he has participants such as Luscious Massacre on. But the real question was, like, has he addressed his previous statements about Israel's genocide? That's cool. That's a cool way to live, chatter. I respect that. I want to live in that world that you live in, right? Anyway. Is there a PBS DLC we can buy, aka merch? Yes. Ideology.shop, you already know. American made, union made. The new merchandise line is available. Did you watch the BS Bulwark video about you? I did. It was awesome. But I personally liked it. It seems like the Bulwark fans, the YouTube paid subscribers, they did not like it that much. They were very mad. And many of them weren't even like fans of mine necessarily. They were just like fans of Bulwark, and they kind of knew about me, and they were like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? But there is some very funny stuff that has come out with the Hassan derangement syndrome. Including John Podhoretz, who had a brilliant take. It's a gift that keeps on giving, It's the gift that keeps on giving. I think is really funny. I personally like it. But where was I? What was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, let's blast off and let's get it started. The Treats Maxer himself, John Podhoras, has some choice words about me and the Bulwark having a conversation. But do we have a? Do we actually have a blast off meme? Planet Labs extending the Middle Eastern image restrictions until the end of the conflict. The war is going great. Oh, absolutely. Bro, they are on your dick crazy. Oh, I know. They are on my dick. They are on my dick. Crazy style. Yeah. It's very strange. They're bouncing on it. F-15 down. Rescue mission for pilot. 1 recovered. Epstein Fury day 35. Trump wants $1.5 trillion budget. War budget. Are we invading? Things aren't going well. Fun day later. Twitch.tv/Hasanabi. But Lindsey Graham apparently talked to Trump and he's ready to escalate. Nice. That's what we need right now. Real swift kick in the ass, like a harder kick in the ass. All right, let's blast off and let's get it going. Let's get it twisted. It's situation monitoring time. You already know. Trump said Iran has 48 hours to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and repeated his Stone Age remark. Do y'all think he'll drop a nuke if Iran doesn't comply? The problem is, even if he dropped the nuke, it just wouldn't. Like, there's no guarantee. I don't think people understand. I don't think the nuke is likely, but then again, we are led by total madmen, right? We are led by total madmen, and it's very clear that like all signs are pointing to America not achieving any of its fucking war goals and kind of getting its shit pushed in by an adversary that is much smaller and an adversary that's not supposed to be able to fight back and retaliate in the ways that it did. An adversary that's not supposed to greatly damage profit centers that are so close to the adversary, right? But they've been able to do all of those things, and obviously, like, things aren't great in Iran. I mean, there's great loss of civilian life. America is pretty ruthless in its in the way that it wages this war. It's doing a good deal of terrorism, right? There's no other way to explain it. They're not capable of degrading the enemies or Iran's missile striking capabilities, but they are capable of, I guess, doing terrorism. And that's precisely what we've been doing. Is the Israel method, right? But having said that, it's getting to a point. It sounds like you said Ben Morris instead of Ben Mora's. Okay, whatever. It's getting to a point where it's becoming increasingly clear for anyone who has more than 2.5 brain cells that the war effort's not going well. And at that point, I think Trump has two options. Either he tacos out, which is the smart thing, the good thing, will probably add some lifeline to American empire for a little bit at least. Like, I mean, there have been irreparable damage, right? But having said that, there is at least like less chaos and less death and destruction if he pulls out. However, doesn't seem like he's pulling out. My IR professor was saying it's not terrorism because only non-state actors can do terrorism. Yeah, really? Is Iran a non-state actor? Because they say Iran is a state sponsor of terror. It's just chauvinism. I love when, Western professors just demonstrate chauvinism and reactionary attitudes such as Western chauvinism, but then they try to claim that there is like some sort of intellectual component to their analysis. And it's not just like our enemies are brown and I'm racist, That's why we like Professor Jung around these parts and not Professor Racism, So, terrorism is a purposely vague term, guys. Okay? Terrorism is a purposely vague term, and it advances that same exact dynamic that is quite beneficial, I guess, for American propaganda. And that is the goal. I heard Dr. Jihad will be doing a guest series at the same school. Yeah, I'm going to be teaching. I'm going to be going to a Beijing private high school where I will be educating the children on jihad theory. Okay. Tim Dillon on MAGA. He's going in on MAGA. Nice. A lot of these guys have pulled the ripcord pretty hard at this point. It's very cool. When will you go back to school and get a doctorate so that you can finally become Professor Jihad? No, I'm Dr. Jihad. Dr. Jihad. I'm Dr. Jihad. I'm not Professor Jihad. I have a PhD in racism. It's a common mistake. I will not, I won't make a big deal out of it, but I have a doctorate in jihad. I'm Dr. Jihad, but I have a PhD in racism. Arabi. Yeah. Critical jihad theory. Yeah. So, where was I? When are you going back to China? Soon, in a couple weeks, hopefully. But we shall see. Israel's issued to do more war crimes according to Reuters. Fantastic. New 60 Minutes to mauled at soon. Yeah. It's every 60 minutes it makes me mauled. Breaking, Israel's preparing an attack on Iranian energy facilities, awaiting a green light from the United States. Attack will likely come in the next week. Fantastic. That's awesome. The war efforts are going well. Israel wants to do more terrorism. Yeah, what do you say? What do you do? Right? There was a IOF soldier that was killed by another IOF soldier. That's crazy. Okay. An Israeli soldier was killed and another was seriously wounded in an incident of so-called friendly fire in southern Lebanon overnight. The military announces the slain soldier's name is Sergeant First Class Guy Ludar, 21, of the Commando Brigade's Maglan unit from Yuvalim. The incident occurred around 3 a.m. during an arrest operation in the southern Lebanese village of Sheba. The Maglan commandos had raided Sheba to arrest a suspect who was allegedly aiding Hezbollah. According to an initial IDF probe, during the arrest, one soldier thought he identified suspects attempting to flee and open fire. The gunfire killed Ludar and seriously wounded the other soldier. The arrest mission was completed and the suspect was taken to Israel for interrogation. The military says it's further investigating the circumstances of the incident. Yeah. 21-year-old Sergeant First Class, by the way. One of the few instances where Israeli soldiers actually opened fire at an armed assailant. That's interesting. In memory of Tupac Shakur. Okay, they're just having fun with it now. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, I saw this. This was really funny. I don't agree with a lot of what Hassan the Hun says. I even have 4-hour-long debates with him. So what if we agree on some things and disagree on others? Why do these establishment assholes think they could tell us who we could talk to? I'll talk to Hassan or anyone else I like. Hashtag suck it. I don't know if he forgot that he's my uncle. Very strange for him to say this, as though, I am, a toxic figure that he reluctantly communicates with or something. Like you're my uncle, man. Thank you for taking this brave stance as my uncle and saying I will talk to my nephew whenever I feel like it. This idea that you or others can't talk to anyone who you feel is out of bounds, intellectual, is an effort to curtail acceptable opinions. Is not good. It's not what good or smart people do. It's what propagandists do to limit conversations to only ideas they've pre-approved. Hashtag suck it. I will be talking to my nephew. Hashtag suck it. That's cool. To be fair, I don't talk to my uncles. Yeah, well, I got a little bit of a chud uncle too. It's cool. The uncle-nephew bond is waning. No, it's not. It's stronger than ever before. Anyway, stop being so ungrateful. You're going to regret it when he's gone. I am not Jank. Okay, he's not gone. He's here. And yeah. What? Germany now requires all men aged 17 to 45 to get permission from the military before leaving the country for more than 3 months. Wait, what? That's crazy. Neera Tandon has been freaking out. John Podhoretz has been freaking out, but Let's start with situation monitoring, and then we'll get to that shit later. Okay, I don't really care. I don't really care about any of the other weird. I don't really care about any of the other weird fuck us on drama that has taken place.
It's day 2 in the urgent search for a missing U.S. airman after an American fighter jet was downed by Iran.
Meanwhile, at least 4 people are hurt after the regime fired missiles into central Israel.
Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt joining us from Tel Aviv with the very latest.
I gotta pee real quick.
And let's get straight to the breaking news that has been breaking over the last few minutes. Another alert here, another strike. And as you look into the distance over central Israel there, you can see that thick plume of smoke from an impact scene. Now, from our experience, that is not one of those smaller cluster munitions, a bomblet from those. That looks to us like that may have been a direct missile strike, which would be one of the first we've seen in this area for quite some time. You can tell just by the thickness of the smoke there that that is much more than one of the bomblets from a cluster munition. Now, we've been under attack here in central Israel for several hours this morning. This the second or third alert that we've had. We're waiting now. We usually get word pretty quickly on the number of injuries or casualties of any sort in a strike like this, so we are awaiting word on that right now. The earlier one that you mentioned, the 4 people who were injured, those were very light injuries, but as you can see, this is a pretty serious strike out there. On our horizon. Central Israel is the only location we can give you because of the censorship rules here. But you can see that smoke just keeps billowing. That does speak to the fact that this was a significant strike. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, the other top story of the day here in this war.
What happened? Did they find a new Jeffrey Epstein? Did they finally choose a new Jeffrey Epstein? Smoke rises over central Israel. A new Jeffrey Epstein has been chosen? That was going on? What's this about? It's black smoke. Oh, it's different. If it was white smoke, don't steal Emma's joke. First of all, that's not Emma's joke. That's not even the majority report I am joke. That's a very famous joke from Twitter from months ago, from the first time Iran was busting Israel's shit. Okay? But I like that you guys think that it was there's ownership. I've literally looked at that joke on stream before. Military censorship and U.S. satellite censorship for 14 days. Everyone ignores that. It's that military. I mean, that satellite censorship is permanent. First of all, and it doesn't matter. Even like Mizar Vision, which is the Chinese commercial satellites that have perfect access to everything that's going on. They also have blanket censorship over Israeli bases. Because no one dare offend Israel, you know what I mean? No one dare disrupt their trade relations with Israel, obviously. So we can't even. We'll just never know how. We'll never know what the successful strikes look like on Israeli soil due to the military censorship and due to the lack of satellite imagery. Anyway,
obviously is the
stealing a joke from a woman the week after Women's History Month is absolutely insane. I'm disappointed in you. It's funny.
Ongoing and increasingly urgent search for that F-15E crew member.
Is this the strike that hit the KKK Kiryat, the government military neighborhood?
Iran.
I don't know.
The Iranian state TV were very quick to show pictures of some of the wreckage, pictures of one of the ejector seats. We believe that that ejector seat was the one used by the pilot who was then rescued, although the rescue operation itself, very difficult indeed. A couple of the helicopters involved in it were hit by small arms fire, as we understand it, from the ground. Some crew members were injured, as we understand it, from Central Command, but those helicopters did land safely with that rescued pilot on board. The weapons systems officer, though, the second of 2 people on board, is still missing. The U.S. desperately searching for that person. Iranian military, obviously, desperately searching for that person because they would like the propaganda coup, obviously, of finding him first and being able to parade him on Iranian state TV.
Yeah, you know the war effort's going well when the American government does a technique that we haven't really done since, like, the Ottoman Empire, like, where countries don't normally do this at all. But you know the war effort's going well when the American government kidnaps the relatives of an individual that we have already assassinated. That's like a very important person in the Iranian military. Qasem Soleimani's relatives have been apprehended and kidnapped, like we're being controlled by Ottoman viziers or some shit. You know what I mean? We just took the family members unrelated to this individual who we had already killed, right? We took their family members hostage. Very, very interesting medieval technique. Obviously, we're already doing siege warfare as well. Very cool. Very cool that very cool that that's the kind of shit that's flying around. Iran says they're not related. I mean, the point is, America thinks they are, and they've decided to fucking arrest relatives of who they perceive is a deceased Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani. America first assassinated the guy, and now they're like, "Oh, are you related to this person? We're gonna kidnap you, and we're going to take you hostage." It's not a hostage if a pilot is, I don't know, on its way to like bomb a light bulb factory in Iran and has their plane intercepted with rocket fires, and the plane falls on Iranian soil, and then they're taken prisoner of war. They're not a hostage. This is a hostage. Okay, you don't get to kidnap someone from an F-15, but you do kidnap like normal civilians that are living on U.S. soil. It's actually kind of a major disruption of the social contract. I know that a lot of people will look at this and go, "Who gives a shit," right? But this is totally against all of our rules, the previous norms, previous rules. There's good reason for why these rules exist. This is, once again, another indication that things are not going well at all. But Narges Soleimani, daughter of the late Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, has denied that the two individuals arrested in the U.S. are related to the family in a letter published by the pro-reform Jamaran. She said none of the Soleimani members' family or relatives have ever lived in the United States. It's so ridiculous. The niece and grandniece of the deceased commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, General Qasem Soleimani, have been arrested, the U.S. Department has said. Yeah, this is... I mean, I don't know what to say about this. It's obviously a bridge too far. It's obviously totally ridiculous. The way that the New York Times is covering this is also totally ridiculous. Like, I just want you to understand, like we are actually engaging in kidnapping, right? Like, this is a kidnapping. You cannot hold a random relative accountable for what you perceive are the crimes of their immediate relatives. That's not how this works, right? Like, Osama bin Laden has immediate family ties. Many of them get to travel freely in and out of the United States of America, and people don't actually question this dynamic because they're just a random fucking civilian. Like, that's insane, right? That's crazy. Like, that is not how this works at all, right? So I don't know how to explain how ridiculous this is for people who just don't understand it, especially because we're getting like dumber and dumber as a society, and the dumber we get, the more hateful we get, and the more hateful we get, the more we think these kinds of like heinous actions are actually totally appropriate and good and defensible. It'd be like kidnapping Liz Cheney. No, because Liz Cheney could be arrested on like separate charges as being like a Republican senator, right? Like, this is a totally random person. Like, this is not, they're not arresting these people for their connections to the Quds Force or anything. They're arresting these people because they are suspected of being related to a guy we assassinated. It would be like kidnapping Barron Trump. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane. That's not a thing that any country would do. As a matter of fact, this is something we suspect our enemies would do, right? Because they're barbaric. They're barbarians, right? Like, it's not in any way, shape, or form normal at all to do this. Here's Aaron Reichland Melnick, immigration attorney, senior fellow at IMM Counsel. He says, 2 notes. This is the legal authority Rubio invoked for Mahmoud Khalil and Rumeysa Öztürk, a law which may be unconstitutional. Rubio has not yet revoked her green card. He has initiated the process for doing so, somewhat of a foregone conclusion under case law. This is what's going on. U.S. federal agents have arrested the niece and grandniece of late Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani after Secretary of State Marco Rubio revoked their lawful permanent resident status, the State Department said on Saturday. Hamideh Soleimani Afshar and her daughter are now in the custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the State Department said in a statement. 2 things, okay? Once again, this is desperation. This spells desperation. When what you're doing, when you start destroying previous norms and like decide to take hostage someone that you suspect is like related to a person that we had assassinated prior, a totally random, uninvolved civilian that has a fucking green card on U.S. soil, like as in we've already gone through the process and given these people like the proper clearance, done the proper investigative work beforehand. Like you're like, this is unconstitutional for a million different reasons, right? This means, and it's not any different than like the way that the American government moved to apprehend and try to unjustifiably prosecute Mahmoud Khalil. This is a great fissure, a great violation of the social contract, an idea that like your citizenship is at the mercy of this administration. This administration can like revoke you of your legal permanent status without the previous rules that were designed around this, as in this can happen to anyone, right? If this can happen to Mahmoud Khalil, it absolutely can happen to your relatives. It can happen to any person that the administration chooses to do this to. And it's also done without due process. Luckily, there's still some semblance of a court structure in the United States of America. It's hanging on by basically a thread at this point. But this is why I stress the importance of like continuing along with these legal battles, because once that goes away, it's over. Like we are in a full tilt fascist dictatorship with no way out of it, other than at that point it's going to be bedlam and probably people are going to have to defend themselves, right? Like I want to avoid that reality. And this administration is like actively moving in that direction. It's terrifying. On the second point, the United States cannot terminate permanent legal status, a green card, without going through a legal process first. And while the results of the initial stages of that process may be foregone conclusion under case law, that makes Rubio's claim false. This was Marco Rubio's claim. He said, until recently, Hamideh Soleimani Afshar and her daughter were green card holders living lavishly in the United States. Afshar is the niece of deceased Iranian Major General Qasem Soleimani. She is also an outspoken supporter of the Iranian regime who celebrated attacks on Americans and referred to our country as the Great Satan. This week, I terminated both Afshar and her daughter's legal status, and they are in ICE custody, pending removal from the United States. The Trump administration will not allow our country to become a home for foreign nationals who support anti-American terrorist regimes. Now, this came this morning, a couple hours ago, and it already has 154,000 likes on the Nazi platform. Some of that is obviously base boosted, but having said that, like this is exactly the kind of like heinous violation of previous norms and like humanitarian rights and all of the international rules that we've basically designed that will be celebrated and cherished by some of the dumbest, bloodthirsty reactionaries that don't understand what this spells for the future of America, right? I mean, this is, it doesn't matter. You can't do this to anyone, right? Like you cannot do this to like a random innocent civilian that is totally unrelated, right? So it's yet another fissure. It's yet another instance of like destroying the liberal international rule-based order. And we're doing this somewhat at the behest of Israel, as Israel's also doing this, right? Like it's a very scary situation to be in. I don't know. I don't like it at all. I don't know how else to put it. And now a twist. Now the question like this are going to be note that questions like this are one of the reasons that a green card holder facing removal gets a hearing first before their status can be terminated, right? Narges Soleimani, daughter of the late Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, has denied that the two individuals arrested in the U.S. are even related to the family. So we don't even know if they're actually related to Qasem Soleimani. Even if they are, though, even if they are, it's still ridiculous, right? Even if they are, this is still unacceptable, right? But the fact that they might not be related to Qasem Soleimani makes this even crazier. Now you're just deciding, oh, well, you have the same name. You're going to fucking jail. We're going to hold you hostage. I mean, this is precisely what America claims Iran would do to our dual citizens living in Iran. There's plenty of Iranian Americans. Some of them are in Iran right now, right? Like, yeah, Putin's daughter lives in Paris, right? Vladimir Putin's daughter, unrelated to Vladimir Putin, lives in Paris. She gets harassed quite a bit, as a matter of fact, right? She tries to live a private life as a private individual, but like, she's not being held fucking hostage, right? And she shouldn't. Like, it's crazy. Unrelated to Vladimir Putin's actions is what I mean. Ironically enough, this is precisely, I mean, this is even worse, to be fair. This is even worse than like finding a bullshit reason to like kidnap Brittany Griner. Okay. Remember when Russia did this? An American national who was playing basketball on Russian soil was apprehended and arrested on bullshit charges. At least the Russian government still used bullshit charges. This is somehow even worse than that. I need you to understand, because like, we're not even implementing any bullshit charge. We're just saying like you're related, right? Like the principle behind why Russia obviously kidnapped and apprehended Brittany Griner was because they wanted to have leverage and they wanted to use a high profile American citizen, an American national, as a bargaining chip, right? It's hostage taking. It's totally ridiculous. It's totally fucked up. But even then, they at least had like a existing legal structure that they could use and abuse to make a legal argument. America has not done that, right? Like, they didn't even get them on, I don't know, jaywalking, right? They didn't even get these people on jaywalking. They openly are saying, we are apprehending these people. They have not committed any crimes whatsoever. We don't even know if these people are actually related to the person. And there is no law or rule in the rule books that says we can kidnap people if they're actually related to individuals that we've assassinated or consider terrorists. And yet they're doing this. They're doing this openly. It's so scary what the future holds if we just continue doing shit like this. During the period in which a person is still in asylee status, travel back to the home country can be grounds for revocation. After getting a green card, there's no explicit prohibition against it. The admin appears to be saying it's proof of fraud. They may have to prove it, right? It's the trade with the pilot. No, I mean, I think it's still ridiculous, right? You can't do that. You can't just like grab random fucking Iranians, man, that you've given green cards to. Once an Iranian gets a green card, they're in the process of becoming an American citizen. Like, this is fundamentally un-American. Everything about the United States of America is being undermined by this administration. Every single initiative that we have launched that is anti-immigrant, that is against people that are coming in here, people that want to become citizens, people that are working tirelessly towards that goal, like, that's what America is about. That's one of the most redeemable qualities of the American project. It's one of the reasons why America has been such a prosperous country overall. It's like, this is a nation of immigrants. I don't just say that as a talking point. It's just the reality, right? So the fact that we are now choosing to go back and destroy one of the most consequential differences in the way that we govern, that has been a tremendous benefit for American prosperity, is truly terrifying. It's actually really, really scary shit. It is un-American. It is total bullshit. It's anti-democracy. It's anti-human rights. This is something that we used to take pride in, like, whether we didn't do shit like this. You know, we would say our enemies are doing stuff like this. We would never. And now you got a situation where it is happening in the United States of America. Very strange. I mean, she brought weed into a country. It wasn't out of nowhere, bud. Okay, I don't know why people defend this. It was obviously bullshit, trumped up charges to literally engage in hostage taking. I was very clear on it at the time. There's no reason that you need to like defend Russia on this complete nonsense, right? They kidnapped Brittany Griner specifically to have a hostage that was a high-profile American national, so they could bargain against some of the other Russians that were held hostage by the American government. It's so totally ridiculous to try to act like that's not the case. Having said that, okay, yeah, she had weed. She had a weed pen. It's not even like it's a slap on the wrist if you're a Russian national. Okay, we are not going to discuss the details of this. Okay, we're not going to discuss the details of this. It's totally stupid. What she did is a federal crime in the U.S. also with 5 years prison. It doesn't even matter if it's a fucking federal crime in the United States of America. It's not. You're wrong. And last but not least, it's not a serious crime in Russia, as I clearly spelled out at the time. She actually was hit with far harsher sentencing for something that normally normally receives like very lenient sentencing, if any sentencing at all. Okay. Anyway, you guys are being ridiculous. But the point I'm trying to make that a lot of people don't understand. The point I'm trying to make. No, I'm not wrong. It's a federal crime transporting Schedule 1 substance across international borders. Oh, international borders. Oh, interesting. So you understand that regular travel between borders is not a federal crime at all, especially if it's legal in both of the states. And now you had to like add a totally separate charge to the incident saying that she was drug trafficking to Russia or something. You're a fucking idiot. Shut the fuck up. Okay, it's literally weed. Shut your stupid mouth up. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What is this argument? Like, what are you justifying the Brittany Griner thing? Are you absolutely delusional? It's very clear why the Russian government did that. And the irony here is what we're doing right now is even worse than what the Russian government did. Russians do not get a slap on the wrist for that, but not even Russian government is pretending that it wasn't for Victor. No, it's totally up to the individual. From what I understand, that level of like weed, that level of marijuana is not as heinous of a crime as the way that the Russian government presented it. Okay, it's ridiculous. Your points are stupid and Russophobic. Man, shut the fuck up, dude. God, my points are stupid and Russophobic. Suck my fucking dick. I hate this fucking dumbass argument. They very clearly fucking kidnapped Brittany Griner so that they could use her as hostage. What are you talking about? Russophobic. Get the fuck out of here. Listen, dumbass. When Russia actually pops an American spy that seems to be a passport aficionado, do I say that this is inappropriate? No, I don't. Okay? Stop sucking Vladimir Putin's cock, you dumb bitch. Jesus Christ. Fair is fair. If an American passport aficionado gets fucking caught with like terabytes of national security that they were trying to purchase with like $50,000 in cash, and the Russian government apprehends them, I'm not going to sit there and be like, whoa, this guy has 8 passports for no reason. That's fair is fair. That's an American spy, and Russia caught him, okay? That's a totally separate incident. But if you're going to use trumped up charges to justify kidnapping like high-profile Americans in exchange for high-profile Russian prisoners in the United States of America, you're a fucking delusional moron. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I can't believe that people try to argue on the dumbest issues, okay? Holy shit. Not that it even matters, because the point I was actually trying to make is that what America is doing is even worse than what Russia is doing, because at least Russia had the quote-unquote decency, I guess, in their kidnapping, right? Totally unjustifiable. Their kidnapping of Brittany Griner to slap her with some bullshit fucking charges. We're not even doing that. Do you understand how disgusting this is? The argument here isn't even like some of these chatters want to make the argument that Russia is good. Okay? What they did in that circumstance was not good. It was ridiculous. But even then, it was at least still marginally better than what we're doing here, because there is not even a real charge that we've issued on anybody. Okay? It's unbelievable. At least Russia had the dignity to create a legal circumstance to justify kidnapping this American national that had nothing to do with anything other than just being on Russian soil and play basketball on Russian soil. We're not even doing that. And you got dumb fuck Americans in here still being like, oh, I don't even want to understand that this is like a violation of all of our rights and genuinely devastating for what the future holds. I'm just going to simply sit here and yell about Russia being good for some fucking weird reason. What? He tried to make an argument. What is this? Modern Baliasan? Sure, but is Russia a sovereign state with its own laws or not? He tried to make an argument on the basis of law. It was a bad argument, so we fell back to the moral argumentation. What? Modern Baliasan? If they choose to double down on the war, chances of martial law seem pretty high. Yes, Russia is a sovereign state with its own laws. That's why I was bringing up the fact that Russia actually has lenience for Russian nationals that are carrying that amount of weed when they're traveling inside of Russia. Okay? I'm using Russia as a sovereign state and their own rules and their own conduct to imply, to show you, okay, to show you that they weren't even abiding by their own personal standards very clearly because they had a separate goal in mind. Some of you don't want to comprehend the argument that's presented here, okay? But she wasn't Russian, was she? It doesn't matter, dude. What standard could you fucking apply to like a totally ridiculous situation where they're clearly using trumped up charges to justify apprehending someone for an extended period of time so they can use them as a fucking bargaining chip that they also openly admitted was a bargaining chip. God damn, some of you dumb fucks are so unbelievably dense. It's so funny that this is one of those things that just like cop brain chatters. No, it's not. It's like it's like ultras and campus that just have this attitude where it's like Russia can never do anything wrong. Ironic because like everyone is calling me a fucking Vladimir Putin dick rider. Every goddamn stupid centrist Democrat is like Hassan is Vladimir Putin lover. Why are chatters acting like this is an assigned debate class where they lose on the ground that they're arguing? They have to find new ones to fall back to instead of just admitting that they were wrong. They do that because they are desperate for attention from daddy. Okay, that's what it is, and I give it to them. So that's what is going on. And it wasn't like the Russia-Brittany Griner situation wasn't even the main point of contention here. The Russia-Brittany Griner situation was a way to show that what the American government is doing is even worse than what we say our foreign adversaries are doing. 15 hate threads from Ben Norton incoming. No, he won't do that. Like, look, I'm a principled anti-NATO guy, okay? At the end of the day, I'm anti-NATO. All right? But like the idea that like Russia is not a sovereign state that is capable of doing harm to both its citizens and also doing harm in terms of irredentist action that I might disagree with regardless of my anti-NATO stance is also stupid. I'm not unconditionally anti-Russia or like one of those guys is like Adolf Hitler or whatever the fuck, right? But it's ridiculous. Anyway, why would ultras support a Russian kleptocracy? Because they see what Russia is doing. They see what Russia is doing as a justifiable act against Western Empire. And you know, I understand why they make this calculation. I understand where they're coming from to a certain degree, but you know, it's still an incredibly bloody affair where a lot of innocents are being slaughtered in the process for no fucking reason. But these are guys who want like multipolarity. They want unconditional anti-imperialism. So anyone that's fighting against American empire, they're on board with. I'm just not going to get caught in the crosshairs, like, and you know, kind of be like the dark period, the dark chapter of the IRA's history where they align with Nazi Germany because Nazi Germany is against the, you know, British Empire, right? Like there are instances where you can make the calculation that the enemy of my enemy is maybe not my friend, right? In any case, where were we? Okay, let's get back to the situation monitoring.
We also understand that an A-10 Warthog around the same time that the rescue operation was underway went down as well, went down in the Strait of Hormuz. The pilot from that was successfully rescued by U.S. forces. All this going on as the U.S. and Israel continue to bombard targets in Iran. The Bushehr nuclear facility, a strike near there today. That is, I think, the fourth time that that facility has been targeted. We understand that a security guard was killed in that. And meantime, once again, we'll give you a final look at the smoke, which is beginning to dissipate somewhat, but is still thick enough to really make us think that that may have been a direct missile hit here in central Israel. We'll keep you updated, guys, on any casualty figures we got from that, but another extremely active day here in this war. Back to you guys.
Indeed, Jonathan. And if your cameraman actually could put us back on that billowing black smoke again, I have a question for you here, because as I am well familiar with the rules in Israel about not locating it, we can see that that smoke is obviously central Tel Aviv there, and it seems to be kind of a reminder there. There is the billowing smoke, a reminder that Iran is still capable. They have the capability to still launch missiles and things that are more advanced than like the cluster munitions and drone attacks.
Like, critical support extends to places that are actually unironically fighting for their survival, fighting for their dignity, fighting for their sovereignty. I don't care about like Hamas's domestic affairs, for example, or the fact that they're Islamist. Like, people will try to be like, Hamas is a reactionary Islamist force. They're basically fascists themselves. Like, why do you fucking defend the Palestinian resistance or whatever? It's like, you're a fucking idiot, right? There's a difference between like Russia and even Iran, for example, right? Because Russia, all things considered, has been able to like operate as a normal functioning country that has trade relations with the Western world for a very long time. In the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR, the Russian Federation still like operated as a they were able to rebuild the country. Obviously, they were able to do it with like so much raping and pillaging. Regardless, it was a kleptocracy designed around oligarchs controlling everything, and Vladimir Putin had control over the oligarchs, whatever, right? But there is, I think, a lot more. Like I have a very different calculation when it comes to a country whose sovereignty is being fucking violated and is not like a global power. Like, Russia is a global power that is a sovereign country that could have dealt with the encroachment onto Ukraine by Western forces very differently, maybe even Chinese style, than the way that they chose to deal with it, right? Iran is a different story. Iran has been dominated economically for its entire existence, right? Cuba, same situation. Even China, up until like recently, I would present a similar argument to, right? So it's very different. Like, this is a very different calculation when we're talking about like the way Russia is moving versus or even criticisms that you might have that are warranted when talking about Russia, as opposed to like a country like Iran. I try to apply the same standard across the board to every single country, and that's the reason why I'm more critical of what Russia does, even if I'm anti-NATO personally, and somewhat less critical, or don't talk too much about the excesses or the domestic policies of other countries that are being straight up fucking dominated and bombed and destroyed. And you can even see that in the way that the Western world has approached the situation against Russia versus how America is currently bombing Iran, right? Like, we gave a lot of weapons to Ukraine, and then we literally told the Ukrainians they are not allowed to bomb Russian territory, right? We added restrictions to what Ukrainians could and couldn't do with the weapons that we gave them. We don't have such restrictions when it comes to bombing Iran. The standards are very different. Do you understand? Part of that is because Russia obviously has nuclear arms, right? So, this is an important factor when you consider like how other sovereign nations that are designed as foreign adversaries should be able to operate and maneuver through diplomacy. I don't understand how from the OA split in Munich after being plundered to shit, allowing nukes to be placed in Kharkiv would be acceptable. I don't understand how preventing that is irredentist in a vacuum, sure, but in context is not. If trying to put nukes in Windsor, Canada, we do a nuclear holocaust. No, that's why I said it's more complex. Like the Russian calculation here is more complex. If you understand what I was trying to explain to you, obviously Western intervention in Ukraine, no matter how much Ukraine was willing to abide by said Western intervention without factoring in Russian security concerns, is like totally fucking ridiculous and played a formative role in why this unjustifiable invasion began. But the reason why I say it's an unjustifiable invasion is because Russia, as a sovereign state with deep economic ties to European partners and a massive energy provider, has a lot more amenities and a lot more room for diplomacy than doing this thing, right? Than doing what it has been doing, right? That's my argument, at least. I think it's bloody, it's deadly, it's unacceptable for humanitarian reasons. And not to say that like America and the Western world has not played a formative role in why this happened. This is the reason why people say I'm fucking pro-Russia all the goddamn time, because I understand that, like, as Mersheimer does, that countries have their own security concerns. But at the end of the day, it's still the worst possible outcome, worst possible scenario. Anyway. Let's continue with Tel Aviv, please.
This is what would appear to be something more sophisticated. So Iran hasn't lost all of their capabilities to strike.
Certainly not. And the Iranians have been quick to point out that they have plenty of missiles left. They've been quick to use them. They are using them on a daily basis, not just aimed at Israel, of course, but also aimed at their Gulf neighbors. So the missiles keep coming. And while the U.S. is clearly having great success in diminishing the Iranian military power, it is not yet non-existent, that power, and it will be very hard, frankly, in the minds of pretty much every military analyst you talk to, for the U.S. and Israel to render Iran's military power non-existent. These missiles can be hidden underground with relative ease. They can be rolled out on mobile launchers and then fired. And then as you continue to look at that billowing smoke, that can be the result of them, what appears to be a direct hit. Again, we're only saying that is central Israel because of the censorship rules here, but that, as you can look at that yourself.
God, I love the most moral country in the Middle East, perhaps the world, and the best country in the world, the only democracy in the Middle East. Such prosperity, such freedoms that make it so that the fucking Fox News hosts at Tel Aviv, the reporters are like, well, this is quite difficult to talk about clearly with the military censors and the restrictions placed upon us. Fantastic. That's cool.
Decide what kind of urban area it is, and you can see the potential effect. We don't know the casualties yet. We don't know the damage, obviously, but we will get the word information on that as soon as we can, and we'll bring it to you. But yeah, another example this morning that Iran remains entirely capable of inflicting damage on Israel and its Gulf neighbors. Back to you guys.
Jonathan, while we have you, just a quick question and maybe a bit of a clarification. When attacks like this happen, I assume you all were warned. You get some sort of a warning on your telephones before there's incoming. Did you happen to notice or hear or see any attempt to interdict this incoming missile?
So what happens with these, Kevin, it's a really good question, is we get the first alert. That is an alert that was sent to our phones saying that the missiles have been launched from Iran. We may be in the path of those missiles. About 5 minutes after that, that's when you get the sirens. That's when the Israeli Defense Forces have narrowed it down and said, you are in the potential path of this incoming missile. So then that's when we all, obviously, we put on the body armor that you see me wearing now, etc. And then we were looking up. We saw pretty much directly above us, I would say, what appeared to be an interception. We then heard the whistle of something dropping, which is a sure sign that you need to get out the way. That is when, anybody there was monitoring our cameras just before we went on air with you.
Putting any responsibility for the invasion of Ukraine on the West and attacking self-determination of European states, Ukraine should be able to join whatever alliance they want to. And if Russia wasn't threatening and attacking them so much, maybe they wouldn't have needed to align with NATO and the EU. You're right. All of the fucking buildup to the dissolution of the USSR was actually totally fucking made up. Everyone fantasized about it. Everyone actually hallucinated the color revolutions and the instability born out of Western intervention, anti-communism worldwide, and not just in the Eastern Bloc countries, but certainly anti-communist reactionary fascist sentiment fomented in Latin America, for example, when they were trying to democratically organize without even fucking USSR intervention, mind you. They just simply wanted to democratically organize on the boundaries of socialism. All of that stuff is totally made up. These guys all just personally were like, yes, we are, we want to do all of this stuff. We want to, there was the USSR restrictions were not for any reason other than the fact that they just wanted to be fucking evil. They wanted to be evil when they were like, oh, we love dominating our people. We love destroying their lives and livelihoods. Yeah, same with Cuba. Same with every other country, really. It just happens to be all the countries that are in the crosshairs of the United States and Western Empire. Weirdly enough, right? It's fantastic. Yeah, it's you're watching America cast aside all of the previous arguments and basically say the quiet part out loud over and over again as this fucking endless bombing campaign in Iran, going one day from we're going to liberate the Iranian people to the next day to be like we're going to kill all the Iranian people, we're going to bomb it back to the Stone Age, and you still have this kind of fucking weird idea. Are you actually defending Russia on the basis of socialism? No, you fucking idiot. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What's wrong with you? I'm talking about American intervention everywhere around the world, anti-communist intervention that played a formative role in the development of every fucking nation state pretty much. What do you think, like these countries developed in the way that they did in a perfectly organic way? Like, we're not referencing, we're talking about NATO. If we're talking about NATO, it is a tool of Western imperialism. It's a tool of Western empire. And it is designed in a way to make it. It is designed in a way where there's like tremendous. There's tremendous instability that you foment. There's also economic warfare that's taking place. People develop discontent towards the state. They say, "Oh, I hate the fucking USSR. I see so much poverty." And then you come in and you create a color revolution. And then Russia comes back extra hard, not Russia necessarily, but the USSR comes back extra hard to obviously try to create some semblance of stability in the country. And then in that state repression, people develop even more anger and more resentment towards the USSR. And then, of course, in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR, you come in and you're like, all of these countries are NATO bases now. You can have missiles that are directly surrounding this foreign adversary, even though the foreign adversary itself was also a part of our design and for years and years simply wanted to be a part of the American sphere of influence, regardless of the damage that the America-backed capital owning class had done to not just the Russian Federation, but the entire fucking Eastern Bloc in its entirety. Anyway, obviously that's going to have some obviously there's going to have some impact on the way that the Russian Federation makes these sorts of calculations as far as its like national security interests. So yes, while the Russian Federation itself is a capitalist kleptocracy and run by a bunch of fucking madmen, the reality of the matter is obviously there is historic relevance to why they feel paranoid when they're operating, especially when America's only encroached and further surrounded Russia in the same way that they fucking surrounded Iran. Where do you think that comes from? Like, do you think that, these countries that we have designed as foreign adversaries simply just exist around our missile launchers and around our bases, and therefore, they should have no fear whatsoever? Why are they living so close to our missile bases? Like, what's that about? Whether it be China whether it be North Korea, whether it be fucking Iran, whether it be Russia. We've just done this over and over and over again. If you're not a part of the fucking security apparatus and you're in the periphery, you either you fall victim to American imperialism, economic domination, or I have to sneeze. Hold on. Or we decide to you're either disposable or you're a threat. You have to factor that in when you're making these calculations, even if you disagree with the actions that the foreign adversaries are taking.
We had to take cover inside. We then came out once that danger had passed, and that's when we saw the impact in the distance there. So the interceptors, yes, to answer your question, Kevin, the interceptors are still in use, but they are not 100% effective, as you can clearly see as you watch that billowing smoke on the skyline right now, Kevin.
Jonathan Hunt, thank you so much for that
Stay safe.
report.
Stay safe,
yes,
buddy.
absolutely. Stay safe.
Reading about the state of Russia in the 90s after the dissolution of the USSR breaks my heart. Life expectancy among men dropped in some areas by a decade. Oligarchs swept up formerly state-owned industries. No one talks about how much suffering capitalism brought upon that nation. Putin is a despot. But when he says dissolution of the USSR was the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century, he's not wrong. Yes, he's absolutely correct on that statement. You can be a fucking bad guy and a psycho in other ways and still say something objectively correct. That is an objectively correct analysis that I would say many American analysts and historians will openly admit in the upcoming years as American empire and its power, its hegemonic status is disrupted. Okay, you will see it. It wasn't just devastating for the Russians, for the USSR, for the Soviet bloc, the Eastern Bloc, but it was also devastating for the Western world as well, because in the absence of any sort of like counterbalance around the world, we greatly accelerated endless greed, endless profit seeking, and we fucking destroyed our own domestic economies as well at the behest of capital. And we just got we went extra crazy on imperial domination around the world. This is literally this is a big part of the reason why we're currently experiencing these fissures. We're seeing the contradictions worsen in such a degree that you got like average self-identifying liberals start recognizing that like maybe we're not the fucking world police, or maybe we shouldn't be the world police. Half of the stuff that creates quote unquote controversy with what I say, half of the clips that people take out of context or the statements that I make, people will freak out about, right? And it'll circulate in the media, or it'll circulate in the fucking hater sphere, right? And then a couple of years later, you'll have like a prominent historian or someone like Robert Kagan, for example, with the 9/11 comments that I had all the way back in 2019. Robert Kagan, the godfather of the American neoconservative movement, literally came out last week and was like, yes, I'm admitting now that our destabilization in the Middle East is exactly what led to 9/11. These countries would not fuck with us at all if we didn't fuck with them. Francis Fukuyama coming out and saying the end of history was wrong. That analysis was completely wrong, okay? Francis Fukuyama also coming out and saying, and Ian Bremmer as well. These are like liberal guys, right? These are liberal analysts, liberal historians, prominent liberal academics coming out and saying that nuclear sovereignty was actually the appropriate measure for countries in the periphery to take. If they want to develop evenly, if they want to develop free of American intervention, they must develop nuclear sovereignty. Like, these are world-changing admissions. These are people that spent their whole lives believing a certain thing and then and having to reckon with the reality that their belief system was wrong. Okay? So you can yell about it all day, every day when you hear me say something and you don't like fully want to comprehend what I'm saying. You can't like, it goes against your previous programming. But if someone like Ian Bremmer or someone like Fukuyama or someone like fucking Robert Kagan can admit some of these things, then you should be able to as well. You are not as invested in the defense of liberalism as they are.
So let's just start with a little bit of good news here. The good news is we have one pilot who has been rescued. The other part of that good news is I don't think we have a president right now who, more than any other president in our lifetime, has done more to rescue Americans.
No doubt.
It's sort of a marker of his presidency, the number of hostages.
No other president has also put as many Americans in jeopardy. Like, you know? I mean, maybe George W. Bush, right? But it's like really funny that they're like, well, you know, although he directly put both of these pilots' lives in harm's way at the behest of Israel, a foreign country, he's also trying really hard to save them. Cool. And in the process of trying really hard to save them, he's putting even more American lives in jeopardy, ironically enough. So this is a very stupid argument to make, I think. Not a very good argument to make at all.
He has rescued. We also know his love for this military. And so I have no doubt that every effort is being made to find this pilot as soon as possible. And the same goes for Pete Hegseth. There's no way Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, is leaving any soldier on the battlefield. So I believe everything is being done right now to find him. A, because they love our military and they don't want to do that. But also, there would be, as Jonathan mentioned, there is a race right now between the United States government and military and the Iranian military to find this person. Kevin, there would be huge political implications if the Iranians get to this poor fellow first.
No question about it. And let's be clear, if you've been watching politics in Washington for any time at all, especially over the last, say, 10, 12 years, you know that Democrats in general, not all, but in general in Washington would love to use any perceived or real failure on the part of this particular action or any action taken by President Trump and attempt to utilize that as a political cudgel, perhaps in the midterms, which of course are coming up this fall. But one would hope that the majority of them would step back and say, in this circumstance, we're all talking about Americans here, although even in this particular moment, I've seen some Democrats say some of the most damnable things that I think I've ever heard about war crimes and about this action. We're talking about real Americans here. We're talking about military women and men who are trying to do something to make it safer for all of us. And so when I see what plays out politically sometimes in Washington, it just makes you shake your head and you think, how could you possibly say and or think that?
No, and we had protesters here in New York City in Times Square openly rooting for Iran and rooting against the U.S. To your point, listen, as someone who's had the honor of covering wars and going there, when an American goes down, it is top priority. And I think we saw the president and Secretary Hegseth's commitment, Rachel, yesterday by what we didn't see. We didn't see the president publicly. He was in the Oval Office. He was in the Situation Room. Secretary Hegseth was there for a long time because they are laser focused on whether or not this pilot is alive or dead. There will be 100% commitment to getting him home. That is now the top priority in Iran. And it has been more than 24 hours he went down. But yet at the same time, as we heard from General Teichert, it may be to our advantage the fact that this pilot was able to hide somewhere with his SEER training in our teams.
Yeah, Trump cares about the pilot, dude. That's why he sent that's why he sent the pilots to die for Israel. It's like, it's famously a thing you do when you really care about your soldiers. What if the pilot just defected? Yeah, I doubt it.
The CSAR teams are the best of the best. I am holding out hope and optimism they're going to get them, and there is no doubt the president's commitment to do everything in our power.
Yeah, so many people praying at this moment for his rescue.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
I mean, it's a little bit terrifying to me that we're not even making a fucking argument. Like, there's no Gulf of Tonkin incident, you know? We just kind of went, fuck it, we ball. Like, it's even worse than that. It wasn't even like, oh, these guys are our enemies, like we have to fight them. We literally were just like, we're doing this because Israel. That's actually doubly unbelievable. We just straight up were like, hey man, we're really doing this because we love Israel after 3 years of Israel doing a live streamed Holocaust. We decided this is the best possible opportunity for Israel to get its final nut, you know, just destroy this country with 93 million people in it. Who gives a fuck what happens to those people, right? Unbelievable. And now obviously there's like tremendous retaliation. There's tremendous retaliation that America's not used to at all. And we've kind of been eating dick left and right for the last 35 days. And even then, like, we're getting taunted. We're getting humiliated. We have a shit ton of casualties, trying to hide it to the best of our ability. And yet, most Americans are just like, what are you going to do?
Rescue operation underway for the U.S. airman who was on board that American fighter jet shot down over central Iran, now missing for more than 24 hours. It's the first time Iran has successfully downed a manned American aircraft in this war, as it now enters its 6th week. U.S. officials say there had been 2 crew members on that F-15, one of them rescued Friday, ejected and now out of Iran, but the fate of the other still unknown. Images released by Iranian state media show pieces of the jet strewn across the ground, ripped to shreds. The images could not be independently verified by ABC News. A second American warplane also hit the same day, Iran shooting down an A-10 Warthog attack jet, the pilot making it to Kuwait, where the aircraft crashed after they safely ejected. That pilot was then rescued. But the search to find the missing crew member proving to be a dangerous mission for American troops. Iran targeting rescue efforts. 2 Black Hawk helicopters struck, injuring some of the crew members on board, but U.S. officials say they safely made it back to their base. In Iran, a news broadcaster announcing the crash of the F-15, telling Iranians they would be rewarded for capturing the crew members alive and turning them over to the regime. Shortly after, state TV airing this video of locals scouring through the terrain, seemingly looking for the airmen.
Yeah, no, they were looking to welcome him as liberators. They were looking to thank him for blowing up the, for being a part of the invading army that's doing an aerial bombing campaign that blew up a bridge, blew up the Pasteur Institute, where they developed new medicines. And blow up the school that little schoolgirls were at, blow up the volleyball court, cultural artifacts that are thousands of years old. That's what they were doing. They were trying to welcome. They were like, hey, this is the welcome brigade. We welcome to liberating us. Thank you.
Posted on social media out of Iran, where the regime enforces a strict censorship, this video appearing to show locals shooting at American helicopters involved in the rescue efforts. A person can be heard saying, "And here's the armed forces," and "Shoot, shoot, bravo, shoot." The series of American aircraft struck in such a short time span, now raising questions about Iran's military capabilities. Just this week, President Trump had claimed in a primetime speech that the regime no longer had the capability to shoot down U.S. aircraft.
They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force.
Meanwhile, the U.S. and Israel escalating attacks on key Iranian infrastructure. Civilian sites hit too. Iran saying a 100-year-old medical research center and a prominent university in Tehran were both hit by U.S.-Israeli airstrikes. Video showing flames still burning inside the university. The Iranian death toll now at 3,519, according to a U.S.-based human rights agency. Meanwhile, Iranian forces striking a desalinization plant and oil refinery in Kuwait, and satellite images showing widespread damage to bases hosting U.S. troops in the area. The Pentagon now reporting 365 U.S. troops have been wounded and 13 service members killed in action, 7 soldiers and 6 airmen.
And Iran this morning saying the area near one of its nuclear facilities was struck in a U.S. and Israeli attack, killing a security guard and damaging a support building. No increase in radiation levels reported, though. And as for that missing American airman, the search continues. Iranian media urging its citizens to find them alive. Rhiannon.
Yeah, thank you for that update, Bert Clennett.
Well, meanwhile, the search
it's not 13, it's definitely higher.
for a missing U.S. airman in Iran continues. That's after Tehran says it downed 2 U.S. fighter jets on Friday, one near the Strait of Hormuz. 2 of the 3 crew have been rescued. Iran's military command says it used new defense systems to shoot down the planes and that it'll achieve full control over its airspace.
Why doesn't Trump just stop the war? Great question. I think it's because it's too spectacular a fuck up. And he feels like he got into this and now he needs to try and fight his way out of it. There are obviously competing forces, both with the external influence and both inside of Trump's mind. On the one hand, he's got the sunk cost fallacy. In his mind, he's like, well, we got into it. We got to get out of it, right? On the other hand, he also is definitely, and I will say this, he is definitely resistant to being remembered as the guy who invaded militarily this massive country. He is resistant to military invasions, like boots on the ground invasions. He likes swift aerial bombardment campaigns and maybe like a kidnapping or something like he did with Venezuela, or even with Qasem Soleimani. Like, he will escalate. He will do crazy things, unpredictable things, but he's not, so far at least, he's shown that he's resistant to, permanent military occupation and invasion, right? The problem here, of course, is there's no other way to escalate. There's no other way to escalate in a way that like causes Iran to stop controlling the Strait of Hormuz or stop bombing Israel with an aerial bombardment campaign. You have to invade, right? Or you have to de-escalate. Problem is, if he actually de-escalates here, then he will have taken a fat L. He will have shown the rest of the world that America actually bit off a little bit more than they can chew. And as long as someone is actually directly militarily contesting American dominance, they might actually achieve a lot of results. Because Iran has been able to effectively undermine 40 years of sanctions and develop new revenue sources while they are being bombarded, right? They are now officially open for business, right? They're trading on Chinese yuan. They're collecting a toll from the tankers that they allow safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. They effectively control the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point, very important choke point. They're able to strike at profit centers in the region that is within their reach, greatly disrupting the interests of profit seekers and international capital. This has been a very important lesson for a lot of people who are paying close attention to what's going on here, which is that for the longest time, countries, I think, believed that America was infinitely more powerful than it actually is, that the empire had not spread itself too thin, that it had tremendous capabilities of defending all of its allies that have military bases. That is wrong. That's just gone. That idea is gone. I hope everyone in here understand that the rest of the world now recognizes that having an American military base does not mean you get security. It means you're actually insecure, right? You become a threat to other countries that are outside of the American security umbrella. U.S. military bases mean you are a target. U.S. military bases mean you can become a missile sponge at a moment's notice. If America decides to behave in this unpredictable manner, they're not going to ask you before they bomb your regional neighbor, right? And then in retaliation, you become a target. American bases are now not seen as safety and security, stability in the region. American actions prove a lot of instability, yield a lot of instability, and American bases create liability. Okay? Would a ground invasion stop Iran from closing the strait? No. I don't think so. No. Not even a little bit. Whereas America is about to turn 250 this year, Iran has a rich history of almost 3 millennia. Do you think it is beyond Trump to target cultural sites in Iran? I can imagine him striking some important mosque over a millennia old with the excuse that they are harboring terrorists there. Yes, I can totally see them doing that. I can totally see them doing that. I mean, it's Israel shit. Like, we are sister nations, okay? Spiritually the same. America is Israel and Israel is America. I can totally see America doing that shit.
We had previously announced that we would demonstrate our capabilities in the field. Let the enemy know that with the new air defense systems, built by the knowledge and proud youth of this country and unveiled one after another in the field of action, we will surely achieve complete control of our country's skies, and we will prove to the world more than ever before the humiliation of the wretched enemy.
I think it would be good if Iran captured this American airman.
Because?
To use him as a bargaining chip to stop this madness, stop this. Trump has lost the plot. and it's just out of control. I mean, this war now is not about Iran or the Iranians. It's about American interests, other interests. It's not about the Iranian people or Iran.
Well, I didn't think I'd take a call from anyone saying, I hope the Iranians catch the airman and use him as a chip. But you think that would be an indirect way to...
When they lose one of their men in action, crashes, they will do what? They send in a whole team to rescue. They send in helicopters.
They're already doing it. I mean, they've done it. They're doing it.
They do to recover it. So it's a big issue for America and American people. So, unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I don't really hope it.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be mistreated by Iran as well.
A missing US officer somewhere in enemy territory. Footage appears to show armed Iranians hunting for them, keen to claim the reported £50,000 bounty on their head. The wreckage of their fighter jet paraded on Iranian state television. A propaganda coup for Tehran and a difficult reminder for those like squadron leader John Peters, who was shot down and captured in Iraq.
You don't have the capacity to be scared because your brain is so full of what you've got to do next, trying to outwit, because part of that chess game, not at a political level, but you've got to outthink the Iranian commanders. You've got to outthink everyone around, and you no longer have the system around you. You are plucked and you are totally on your own.
The missing service person's president posted on social media today, "Remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open up the Hormuz Strait? Time is running out," says President Trump. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God. It's just days since Trump claimed Iran was beaten. Following false claims by the US president about the complete destruction.
He's going to nuke something before he dies. He wants to be remembered. Oh, buddy, he will be remembered. He will be cherished as a great hero, depending on how things go. Just not by Americans, I think. He is the great nation builder for China. Okay, Donald Trump is the great nation builder for China. JD Pandan is real. Okay, he will be remembered for this.
May Allah awaken the people and help them to see the evil doings of Israel and the United States.
Like, he's literally doing that. He is doing that. He's playing a major role in helping Allah awaken the people to the evil doings of the United States and Israel.
Of Iran's air defense system, says this IRGC spokesperson. An American hostile fighter jet was shot down in central Iranian airspace by a newly developed advanced aerospace defense system. The jet was completely destroyed, and further search operations are still ongoing. Those ongoing operations are now a race between the US and Iran, the latter claiming to have shot down a second US plane which crashed in the Persian Gulf, a rescue mission whose crew then themselves had to be rescued. US Black Hawks have come under sustained gunfire, all aircraft on high alert as they hunt for their missing comrade. Olivia Guthrie, ITV News.
I mean, this could not have happened at a more consequential time, right? Like,
retired general.
Tremendous economic pressures in the imperial core, a looming energy crisis all around the globe, accelerated by America's actions. 3 years of American-backed maximum Israeli genocide that was live streamed that greatly changed the Western world's attitudes towards America and Israel as well. The American president being so vulgar with his imperial ambitions and even at times redirecting that imperialist rhetoric towards Western white allies that are a part of NATO. All of this stuff combined has created this powder keg. I don't know how we got here. I genuinely don't understand it. In many ways, I do think that if I was a liberal, if I was like an ideologically minded liberal who was obviously invested in the maintenance of American empire, I'd be fucking losing my mind. I'd be like, dude, we had a good thing for like 100 years. What are you doing? Like, we're not even gonna meet the 100-year marker of like liberal hegemony around the globe. Like, you fucked it up. It's crazy. Don't worry, Trump said war will end in 48 hours. Oh yeah, no, totally. Because look, I think it's utterly evil, the maintenance of empire. I think it's an evil endeavor, okay? And I think it's not good for anybody involved except for, global capital, international capital. That much is clear, right? Having said that, you have to give credit to the liberals, at least, like the ones that were greatly invested in at least like propagandizing at the behest of American empire to make it seem to their own, domestic audiences that it's like a objectively good thing and it's a necessity. Both out of national security concerns, because all these other, enemies are enemies of democracy, enemies of prosperity, right? Like they did a much better job of like maintaining the proper reasoning structure for why America has to be the world police, why the Western world has to liberalize places, has to democratize the rest of the world, right? They were infinitely more successful. They were so successful that when you think about like the neocon movement, right? The reactionary George W. Bush and Dick Cheney led Republican Party and what they ended up doing in the failure of the global war on terror, their justifications for it were still objectively liberal, right? That's what it means when I say liberalism is hegemonic. They were still talking about nation building, democratizing Iraq, right? Liberalizing, offering social freedoms to these people. Like they were still presenting an argument. They still created within the confines of our own international human rights architecture that we designed to benefit ourselves, of course, that we violate with regular frequency. We still created a reasoning, right? We lied about it. We said WMDs. It was bullshit. But at least we still lied about it. There was a reason for why we lied about it. And it's very interesting that like Trump and this new version of hard power only, no soft power approach has forgotten why liberals, regardless of how right-wing they are, or, Democrat Party liberals, the war hawks in each individual party were doing this marketing, right? It's hubris. It's imperial hubris to assume that you can just like get away with being this violent and this naked with your ambitions. The idea that people won't hear that and go, what the fuck? I thought we were the good guys. You kind of sound like a bad guy. I don't like it. Especially at a time when there's unprecedented economic shocks that like ordinary people are facing, the working class is facing after decades of austerity, for example. So it's very strange that this illiberal move from the reactionary MAGA movement, this fascist movement, this new iteration of fascism has dropped liberalism completely, thinking that it was dead weight, not realizing that actually it was far more successful than how these guys can achieve their goals. It was far more successful in maintaining empire. Liberalism is far more successful in maintaining empire than fascism is.
And former national security official Douglas Lute. General Lute, thank you so much for being here. As we just reported, 2 American warplanes were hit by Iran in separate attacks, and then 2 Black Hawk helicopters involved in that rescue mission, they were struck as well. The president had said that Iran is no longer capable of shooting down American aircraft. So what does this tell you?
Well, the president was talking in military terms about our having achieved air superiority. And what that means basically is that most of the enemy's air defenses have been eroded, degraded, and that there's largely freedom of action in the air.
Is there?
And I think that's accurate. The problem here is that air superiority is not perfect. And we've obviously...
That's interesting because it kind of feels like that's not the case. Like saying that while there's B-roll playing of a search and rescue mission flying over Iranian airspace that's being contested with like conventional arms, small arms fire, while the reason for why there's a search and rescue operation happening on Iranian airspace is literally because Iran was able to successfully take out an F-15, kind of cuts away at the point they were trying to make. You know, if your argument is that we established air superiority, and you're brought on to Good Morning America to talk about how an F-15 fighter jet just fell on Iranian soil. Well, the argument has been made for you. We did not establish air superiority, right? Like, that's not how this works. We have achieved air ambiguity. Yeah, that's a good one. That's what it is. Well, it's not perfect. You see, what I like to call what we achieved in Iran is not air superiority. It's not air ambiguity. I don't even know what it would be. It's just like an aerial dominance at certain times and not so dominant at others.
We've seen a classic example of that today. So Iran retains enough air capacity, air defense capacity, to challenge American aircraft, and obviously we've seen the results.
General, let's go ahead and talk about this.
That's also funny because, like, this is the same maximalist cope position that you hear from like plane autists in the NATO side, the Western chauvinists, like pro-America, hoorah, OSINT guys, who will be like, actually, it's not that significant that an F-35 had to do a crash landing. You're stupid. Like, because it was contested successfully by a country that we have economically dominated for 50 fucking years, right? And the indigenous air defense systems that they've developed that we claimed we had thoroughly destroyed. This is the same old bullshit, right? It's pure cope where you're like, oh, well, you know, we developed our superiority, but like our F-15 fell and another A-10 fell in the process too, in defense of the search and rescue operation. But, you know, it happens. It happens. It's not that significant. You know, planes fall all the time, dude.
Process of the urgent search. Iran, we know, is also trying to find the missing American themselves. What will the U.S. do now? Because that's a very dangerous situation for the missing service member.
Well, it is. And as hours pass by, it becomes even more perilous. Look, the immediate priority for American forces is to isolate this area so that prohibits Iranian forces, reinforcements from coming in and lending to the search. And while the area is isolated, these rather slow-moving and therefore vulnerable search and rescue aircraft, like the helicopters that your earlier report mentioned, will focus on that area and try to identify the precise location of the downed pilot. Now, the pilot has identifying GPS, beacon systems, and radio systems, and so forth. So if the pilot's able, he or she will be signaling the search and rescue aircraft and hopefully lead to a recovery.
All right, General Douglas Lute, thank you so much for joining us here on GMA on this important story. We appreciate it.
Iranian officials placing a...
I read the A-10 is the everyone favorite until you know how slow it is. I mean, the significant part about the A-10 is that, like, yeah, it's slow, but it's supposed to be this, like, somewhat impenetrable air tank, right? It's just a flying cannon. Like, it's not supposed to be taken out like as easily, I guess. Not really. I mean it literally does. It first of all, it obviously can only operate when there's not enough when there's no air defenses, right? Nah, it's dog shit designed around a cannon. Everyone knew it's dog shit. Here comes the military nerds. Tank busting doesn't mean it's tanky. No, but like Hasanabi, no matter what, it serves the purpose of flying low and like directly shooting at things that the pilot can fucking see. Okay, so obviously it's a little different in comparison to like an F-35, for example. Like a lot of the other aerial assets that we have in the American Air Force and the American military have very different defenses in comparison to the A-10. It's designed for aerial cover, right? It's designed to fly low and shoot at shit that you can fucking see. Chatters are stupid. The A-10 is designed to be harder from ground fire. It has titanium bathtubs surrounding the pilot. It's designed around ground attack and close air support. Yes, that's why they bring in the A-10s, because when you have to do close air support, you can't use standoff munitions And you can't use aerial bombing campaigns from afar if your troops are a lot closer to the enemy troops, and then you accidentally blow up your own fucking troops. And that's why they use the A-10. It's supposed to fucking fly close to the target and literally see it and shoot at what it's seeing. So it's designed specifically to withstand some damage from the ground. I mean, it's equally impressive that they took out an F-15, but it's still, I think, significant and impressive that they took out an A-10, especially considering that in the entire Iraq theater, there was only one A-10 that they took out. Like, the Iraqi force only took out one A-10. Standoff munitions, like Tomahawks, like long-range missiles that they lob from afar, is way more impressive to take out an F-15. I agree. I think it's the most impressive to take out an F-35. Look, any plane can't take much fire, but the reality is that multiple aircraft were hit yesterday. There's a turning point in the air defense situation in Iran. I agree. And it's undeniable. It's undeniable.
Bounty on the head of the second U.S. crew member lost after an F-15E fighter jet was downed over enemy territory. Search and rescue teams working through the night, but the clock is ticking. And with every passing hour, this search becomes more consequential. President Trump stopping short of saying how the U.S. will respond if our airman is captured by Iran. Retired Air Force Brigadier General John Tykert is a former F-15E combat pilot. He joins us now. General, thank you for being here. I want to talk to you a little bit about the F-15E. It's the workhorse of.
I'm gonna be honest. I think in the upcoming weeks, if the situation continues to go as it has thus far, where Iran, as the underdog here, keeps securing some fairly significant victories like they did yesterday, the guys that they bring on to Fox News are going to be increasingly more panicked. Okay, right now, their job is to cope. Their job is to give you talking points. Their job is to give MAGA talking points, to be like, no, everything is going swimmingly, right? Everything's going great. It's not that significant that an F-15 was taken out. F-15s get dropped all the time. Like, oh, it's whatever, right? I should know. I flew one. I mean, he looks kind of panicked here regardless, but they will become increasingly more panicked, and you will start seeing people closely associated with the administration, or people who are directly in the admin, or even the analysts, start saying, I think we have won our war goals. We have achieved our strategic objectives, and it's time to back away. That is, of course, if Donald Trump doesn't engage in the unthinkable and try to do a panicked ground invasion, okay? Because that could happen. So far, they keep saying F-15s are old. Yeah, it's cope. Reporting on Iranian strikes inside of Israel and GCC countries is heavily censored, but this Wall Street Journal report gives a glimpse of what is a huge story: the effectiveness and the precision of these missiles. The damage done to the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh by an Iranian drone strike was far worse than publicly admitted, according to a new Wall Street Journal story. The quote from former CIA got my attention. So Wall Street Journal and Washington Post, John Hudson specifically, has been somehow gaining access to diplomatic cables. Even with their diminished capacity to do reporting with the Washington Post, there's someone that's like feeding them diplomatic cables over and over again, because there's someone out there who's like, dude, this shit sucks. You have to apply pressure. That's just kind of how things go in the background. When you read a story, you have to understand, like, how am I reading this right now? Okay? How am I reading this story right now? What are the ambitions of the people that may or may not have given this information to this outlet? Okay? So understand that the motivation from someone along the process in the State Department is just to go to John Hudson and be like, dude, it's fucked right about this. Okay? Obviously, they're trying to keep a lid on all of this information in order to make it seem like the situation is much better than it actually is. But there are certain aspects of this that are undeniable to even the untrained eye. For example, when you see fucking black smoke coming out of central Tel Aviv, it's a pretty good indication that you haven't deteriorated the Iranian strike capabilities, right? Like, it's obvious. As a matter of fact, it shows you two things. One, we haven't destroyed nearly enough TELs. We haven't destroyed nearly enough launchers. They still have launchers. And we haven't destroyed the missile silos, the ballistic munition depots. And also, last but not least, perhaps most significantly, Iran has been able to successfully deplete the Israeli defenses, from David Sling to the Arrow systems to the Tamir interceptors, also commonly known as the Iron Dome, right? It's clear. You can't lie about what you're seeing. Like, you could say, oh, we did it, we destroyed them, but like, if you feel the impact of a fucking strike in the heart of Tel Aviv, all of a sudden that changes the dynamic. Like, you can't out yap what people can see. And the same thing goes for these bases, right? It was able to produce an indigenously made weapon, fired across hundreds of miles, and put it into the embassy of their top opponent, which means they could have hit anything they wanted in the city, said Bernard Hudson, a former CIA counterterrorism chief with extensive experience in the Persian Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia. There's been a complete blackout on the actual damage done to these places, he said, about U.S. embassies and bases. That feeds suspicions that a lot more damage may have actually happened. A YouTuber invented a way to track fighter jets using cheap cameras and even webcams a couple months ago. During the night, you need infrared or thermal cameras to track them, but you can do it 100 kilometers away. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, ironically enough, as we now know, the Iranian anti-air defense systems actually rely on the optical cameras that are commercially available as well to create like an environment, like create a surveillance umbrella without relying on radar systems that the American fighter jets are designed to avoid, right? Designed to be invisible, like the F-35. So they're using readily available commercial technology, and perhaps some military tech too, to create systems that surveil American fighter jets and then successfully shoot them down. It's clear. It's incredible stuff. It's yet another indication that war is changing, right? There is there's a way to basically level the playing field between sophisticated machinery that much more powerful, much wealthier nations are creating, with a country that has the economy the size of a fucking walnut in comparison to America, right? But I thought war never changes. I mean, yes, war never changes. But also, in some ways, the drones that they're using, the Shahed, as I've said before, has basically become like this generation's version of the AK-47. The AK-47 was a very reliable weapon that was seen as a tool for revolutionary forces all around the world, anti-colonial warfare, and anti-colonial forces all around the world. And I think that like cheap drones have created a similar environment now. You just fucking lob flying lawnmowers, and all of a sudden the dynamic is very different. Yeah, relying on K trucks and Toyotas that you put anti-aircraft weapons in the back of, that are easy to swap out, easy to retool, fairly easy to fix.
The Air Force, but first let's
hear this cope. I can't wait. Yeah.
With every passing hour, this gets more difficult. What can you tell us?
Griff, the first thing that aircrew member would have done when they hit the ground is to assess how they're doing. They would have gathered up their supplies, and they would have gotten away from their landing site so that they could find a place to hunker down and hide as they communicate to our rescue forces. And while there is a little bit of concern about the duration of time since they got shot down, I actually think it's net favorable because they're falling back on their training. They found a good place that clearly has indicated they haven't been captured by the adversary. And now the forces are just trying to find the right time and the right way based on the terrain and the disposition of enemy forces to rescue our downed crew member.
You see, normally what you would consider in a search and rescue operation is something that is like universally considered unfavorable is actually quite favorable. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, you see, when you got someone under the rubble, for example, and time is running out, or when you got someone who's a missing person, right? A missing person, and time is of the essence in terms of like tracking them and figuring out where they're at. It's actually quite fortuitous that more time has passed. It's good.
It's a great point, and we can show you a map of where we believe
this guy's a real glass half full kind of guy.
That F-15E went down in the Khuzestan region, but of course that Zagros mountain range, very difficult terrain to navigate. But because of the pilot's SEER training, the survival and evasion tactics he's learned, hopefully has gotten him to a place where he can wait for the CSAR teams to go in there. But I want to ask you about the fact that this F-15E was shot down. And then, of course, in a separate incident, that A-10 Warthog down near the Strait of Hormuz. Does that challenge the Pentagon's claims that we have this air superiority?
Griff, I think it's important to realize that the American military makes the extremely complex and difficult look easy. And in the last 5 weeks, it has not been an easy, permissive environment. It is a determined adversary with extremely high-quality threat systems. And I just think it's been a testimony that this is a very difficult mission, and you never have complete air supremacy. And I actually think it highlights the fact that our forces are so amazing that it took 5 weeks before we saw a situation like this.
It's been 24 hours, General Teichert, since this happened, and the Pentagon has been silent. CENTCOM has been tight-lipped. What do you make of that?
Griff, I'm so happy to hear both the administration and the Pentagon and U.S. Central Command being so concerned about operational security. The only way this downed crew member is going to be recovered safely and the combat search and rescue forces are going to be safe in accomplishing their mission is if they fall back on their extensive training and there is exquisite operational security. We're seeing that out of all entities, and I'm happy to see it.
And just in the last 10 or 15 seconds I've got, these F-15Es play a critical role.
They do. They are multifunctional. They have air-to-air capability. They're very flexible in the type of targets that they can strike. I'm a proud F-15E Strike Eagle combat pilot, but those crews are incredible and their planes are as well.
Brigadier General John Teichert, thank you for your insight and have a great weekend.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian.
They keep mentioning the SEER training as though this is going to save him because it sounds cool and advanced. I mean, it is advanced. It's just like
many will be.
It's war. Okay. All the best laid plans in warfare can change instantly when the first bullet is fired. The very fact that they have to utilize SEER training in and of itself is an indication of this reality, right? Is an example of what I'm talking about. It's clear. He's in Iran and being hunted by the locals, Lamau. Yeah, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Yeah, pretty much.
Asking what happens to a member of the military when their plane is downed and what's happening behind the scenes to bring them home. Well, someone who knows the situation all too well is the former RAF pilot John Peters. Now, back in 1991, his plane was hit. He was forced to eject over enemy territory along with his navigator, John Nichol. The pair were captured by Saddam Hussein's forces, tortured and paraded on television. Images you may well remember. They were beamed around the world. Well, I'm pleased to say John Peters joins us now to take us through what happens in these high-stakes situations. Great pleasure, John, to have you on the programme. I think you'll know as well that your friend and former colleague, Sean Bell, is in the studio with me as well, so he'll also be participating in the interview. I'd like to start by asking you, John, what goes through your mind when you know that there is no option other than to eject over an enemy territory?
To be honest, I think like any other fighter pilot, it's a trained response. You've done that hundreds of times in your career. In the simulator, you fly an aircraft, they give you emergencies, you respond to the emergency.
and you eject. The difference in war is the fact that, you know, the engine fire that you get in a simulator is you've actually been hit by a missile and the aircraft rotated. You have anti-aircraft guns and you are surrounded by orange flame. So that is the difference in reality to simulation.
Yeah, and I suppose also, and Sean is going to come in on this in a moment, also you must be a bit dazed, right? Having been through that, having ejected out of your plane, when you land in enemy territory, is everything a little bit confusing at the outset?
Yes, obviously. I mean, you've just gone through an extreme event.
Damn, did you hear all those girls screaming like Hasanabi's a rock? No, you just did not click that. I certainly did. And I'll repost it too. I'm shameless. Is Trump hospitalized? I don't think so, but it's very cool that everybody thinks that.
I mean, you've been shot out of the sky, you've then ejected, and I had 2 crushed vertebrae from the ejection, and we ejected at 320 feet so above the ground, so I was in the parachute for 10 seconds. You're then on the ground, and you've gone from a position of power, effectively, and just like this poor American crew, you've gone from a position of power of, you know, this huge air power and involvement in that, to literally John and I, 2 little pink bodies in the desert, you know, and you suddenly, I think the transition is just shocking.
That's pretty crazy that they just like keep showing.
And the first
perhaps their worst moments.
It was giggle. It was really pathetic, actually, because you think, what the hell do we do now?
John, you and I both went through flying training.
Saturday, April 4th, 2026, 1:50 p.m. outside of Walter Reed Military Medical Center. No Marine One, no motorcade, roads open. Yeah, I just don't understand why people do this shit. It's so, it's unbelievable. It's so unbearable. I understand. I'm sympathetic to why people do this, where they just like really want to lean into hopium, right? That's what it is. But it annoys me. Stop doing that. Maybe it's because I'm used to it growing up in Turkey. Okay. Growing up in Turkey, you get used to this. And I'm sure people in Russia have similar opinions as well. People that live all around the world have like similar opinions or similar experiences where you're just like, growing up in Turkey, this kind of stuff used to happen all the fucking time. Okay. 25 years and 30 years later, you realize that's not ever happening. Okay. That just evil never dies. And you just can't hold out hope like that, because slowly but surely it'll literally chip away at your soul every time. You're like, yo, it's fucking happening. Oh my God, it finally happened. Like divine intervention. Nope. Dick Cheney, Henry Kissinger, these guys stayed alive decades after the damage was done. Okay? Kötüye bir şey olmaz diye söz var ama exactly. Erdogan isn't 80 and he doesn't slam a meat load for dinner every night. First of all, Erdogan is old as fuck too. And secondly, do you know how many cancer scares have happened? Or not cancer scares, but like cancer prayers have taken place for Erdogan as well? You don't know. That's what I mean. Anytime he goes to the hospital, everyone's like, oh my God, it's happening. Also, this literally took place with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Together, we did a lot of conduct after capture training, escape and evasion training. But actually, I've only ejected. I've not done what you've done. But it's completely different when it happens for real.
Safe to say that Hasanabi is a Holocaust denier? Bitch, wait, what? What the fuck are you talking about? How did you arrive at this insanity? Is it because I said evil never dies, like, and you can't hope for divine intervention? Is that why? Because like Hitler killed himself? Is that what the argument is? New pet? All right, yeah, we'll keep this one as a pet. Classic Euro lib.
Can you talk through that moment in the cockpit when you had to make the decision to get out? Because when you and I have talked about this, it sounds surreal.
I say Eurolib, but he has Europa in the name, so I assume it's a Euro hog. But it's weird because like Euro hogs are Holocaust deniers, right? So it's just like doesn't make any sense.
How you make that decision and how that whole process goes.
Well, it's defined by the moment. I mean, when we got hit by the missile, the aircraft rotated a couple of times, and we were only 50, 60 feet above the ground, doing about 500-600 knots at the time. Then the anti-aircraft guns, and you're trying, basically, it's a trained response. You're trying to solve problems. But when the aircraft, literally, I couldn't see the back of my aircraft. It was completely orange flame. It was about 15 feet donut around my aircraft, a complete orange flame. I couldn't see my right-hand wing. And so then you do click into, again, a trained response. I know this sounds boring, but this is why we're trained.
It's so strange. Euro MAGA Hog goes into Asmongold's chat. Pedo Mold is watching you and is calling you anti-Semite. That's why. Yup, he needs that attention. I think I got his attention, Zach Rar, when I said Hassan is a Holocaust denier. That guy's a freaking idiot. It's awesome. Cucks. Every European MAGA supporter is double cucked.
So much that you go, we now have to eject because this aircraft is just going to disintegrate around us. So you then go through the checks to eject, and that's when you eject. Now, that's the first time, as you'll remember, you never eject in practice. So, but you have complete faith that you pull that handle and you'll be out the aircraft. And that is how it is. I think the big thing then, once you're on the ground, you have that initial shock where we giggled. You then literally, again, it's training. And again, I don't want to sound too boring, but you end up going, you put the next cassette in, which is we now need to evade. And that is exactly what this crew will be doing now.
So going to the crew now, one of them's been plucked away. What do you think is going through the mind of the individual? We don't know if it's male or female. You know, what's going through the mind and what happens next, do you think?
Well, much of it will be the training, and I won't go into what we get taught. And do remember, my experience is 35 years ago, and the sophistication will have increased. But the sophistication has increased on both sides, so the stakes are the same, really. And it is a game of cat and mouse. The US forces have got to find their colleagues, and they'll have the combat search and rescue squadron is effectively who will do that and plan how to get that person out, because as you can imagine, the Iranians will be saturating the area as best they can, because this is now a political game, because that gives them huge leverage.
And John, talk us through what happened with you, because you and John Nichol, after you ejected, you said that initially you giggled when you landed. But you were quite quickly captured, weren't you? What then happened?
Well, I was on the ground and I was a bit dazed. John landed about 100 meters.
Okay, I don't really care about this, man. Sorry, no disrespect to the Royal Air Force, but like, I don't care about the experiences that this guy had. No disrespect, like I said.
We'll get the view from Ali Hashim in Tehran in just a moment. But first, let's go to Mike Allen.
Trump's 48-hour Hormuz ultimatum is the latest in a long line of deadlines. It's very cool that not only were we offering red lines to our allies like Israel, and then they were fucking violating them over and over again, but we're also incapable of setting red lines against our adversaries. Which once again shows that perhaps we don't have the motion.
In Hannah in Washington, D.C. Mike, so another threat, another deadline from Donald Trump, all as an American pilot remains missing.
Yes, indeed, another day, another deadline. President Trump writing on his social media page that he gave 10 days for Iran to give up its grip on the Strait of Hormuz. He says this period of time will expire on Monday. And as he says, all hell will rain down on them should they not comply by this particular date. But this is just another in a long line of deadlines. And all of this comes as the U.S. continues to search for one of the pilots who was downed by Iranian air defenses in the last few days.
What if the Iranians release a video of the captured pilot and they're giving him Kubi Day? I mean, that could happen, okay? That could happen. I will lose my mind. I will be extra careful about the things that I joke about going forward, because things that I joke about here, Piker Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today, it turns into shit that I joke about now turning into reality tomorrow. So pretty wild. No jokes. Trump shares footage earlier in the strike at Tehran terminating many Iranian military leaders. Many of Iran's military leaders who have led them poorly and unwisely are terminated, along with much else, with this massive strike in Tehran. President Donald J. Trump, he's no mention of the pilots, by the way. Interesting. I guess they don't matter. I guess that didn't happen. A real leftist broadcast would have no jokes is true.
Or search compounded, or the problem of the search compounded by the fact that it appears that 2 search and rescue helicopters were also downed by Iranian defenses. The crews of those helicopters were rescued. But this has many ramifications for the United States and, of course, great concern for the military. It had recently deployed, for example, B-52 bombers, which can carry a far greater payload, because the president had claimed that the air defense systems in Iran had been obliterated. Well, clearly the events over the past 24 hours show that this is not the case, and the deployment of highly expensive and vulnerable huge bombers may now have to be stopped because, obviously, of the threat, the new threat from Iranian air defenses that were supposed to have been destroyed.
Bringing in Ali Hashem in Tehran. Ali, state media seems to have shifted from calling for the elimination of captured pilots to offering large cash rewards for their capture. I mean, what is Iran making of the downing of these US aircraft?
Well, in fact, from the first hours, they've been putting money for who captures the pilots, and they've said that getting them safe and sound is actually more beneficial for Iran. Now, with respect to what happened yesterday, we've heard today the spokesperson for the armed forces, Ibrahim Zulfiqari, saying that Iran has a new system, a defensive system, and this has been repeated over the past days. Yesterday it was once again stressed, and today he vowed to reveal the new defense system. However, for Iran, this breaks a narrative, because there was an American narrative. President Trump says there are open skies, and Iran yesterday challenged this narrative with
Did you see Mearsheimer praised your ass? Shut up. Wait, actually? My goat? The goat noticed me? Stop. Where? When? How? Someone find it, please. I'm kidding, Hasi. Love you. Fuck! God damn it. I got so excited, dude. Fuck. I got the good doctor notice, dude. That's mean, bro. That is fucked up, dude. Fuck you.
Fire by downing at least or hitting 5 aircrafts, including downing 2, the F-15 in towards the southwest of the country, and the A-10 in the near Hormuz. Then the 2 helicopters shooting them without downing them, and also another A-10. So the Iranians were able to get around 5 aircrafts hit yesterday, plus several of drones. This is kind of turning the tide, changing the narrative for them, and this is adding more morale to the streets.
Thank you, Ali. Ali Hashem there in Tehran. Let's go back to Mike Hanna in Washington, D.C. And Mike, in the last 45 minutes to an hour or so, we've been getting reports of the arrests of family members of one of Iran's most revered military commanders, Qasem Soleimani. I mean, he was assassinated by the US back in 2020. What's being said, Mike?
Yes,
this guy's my op, if you guys remember.
Indeed, he was assassinated during President Trump's first term. The State Department has released now an official statement saying that the green cards of Soleimani's niece and his grandniece have been revoked. The State Department claims that they have been actively supporting the Iranian government while living in Los Angeles. After their green cards were revoked, they have been arrested by the FBI and are now, it is believed, in federal custody. Now, this follows recently as well the revoking of the green cards of the daughter and her husband of Ali Larijani, the assassinated former security chief in Iran. They had their green cards revoked. They subsequently left the country. So it does appear that State Department monitoring very closely any action or alleged action by those who have relatives still in Iran and battling against the US and Israeli forces.
OK, understood. Many thanks for the update, Mike.
Iranians are being encouraged to capture the missing American officer alive. God willing, we'll find him, they say. And with high cash rewards if they manage, the race is on. More than 24 hours after the jet came down, the mission to find the American continues in Khuzestan province in the southwest of the country.
There's also a likelihood that he could just be dead. That's the other side of the story as well. Like he could have just he could have just died while he was ejecting. He could have died like he could have had like a parachute failure. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they do. Do we know if the seat that they found was this? I guess he did make contact, right? He did. He sent a signal. That's true. He did. I forgot. I was thinking of the other pilot. Yeah, they did receive an active beacon. So I assume he's just. That's according to Israeli media. Yeah, but I mean, they did find one of the guys. You know, he could have fallen off a rock face or drowned or something. Though, still, yeah, that's also true.
Bordering Iraq.
You mean? Okay, calm down. Chatters are so dumb.
And the Persian Gulf. For the US, they say it's a search and rescue in this area. For Iran, it's a hunt here in the neighboring province. Friday afternoon, news broke Iran had shot down a two-seater US F-15 fighter jet. The parts paraded on state TV. The pilot ejected and was rescued, but the weapons systems officer in seat 2, no one knows. 2 Black Hawk helicopters swept in to search. They were hit too by Iranian fire and left, while another fighter aircraft was hit and crashed over Kuwait, the pilot safely ejected. A downed jet and a missing American officer tell us 3 things about the war in Iran. The US claim of total air dominance has taken a hit. Iran can still hit back. And Donald Trump's claim that the US is winning just took a hit too. A missing officer inside enemy territory is as sensitive as it gets. If Iran captures the American, there are fears he becomes a really powerful bargaining chip. And it won't help Trump's war effort at home, given days ago he said this about Iran.
They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100.
Yeah, that wasn't great. That wasn't the best thing to say. I feel like so close to what took place yesterday. A little bit of an awkward oopsie moment,
100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force.
Today, Iran's top joint military command said they'd used a new air defense system to take down the jet.
The enemy should know that we rely on new air defense systems built by the young, knowledgeable and proud people of this country, unveiling them one after another in the field. We will certainly achieve full control of our country's skies.
While yesterday, a gleeful post from the Speaker of Iran's parliament said this brilliant no-strategy war they started has now been downgraded from regime change to, hey, can anyone find our pilots, please? This is the first US warplane the country has shot down in the conflict.
Oof.
Trump has said the situation will not affect negotiations with Iran. But like so much in this 5-week war, events can quickly overtake the rhetoric.
Well, Donald Trump has warned that time is running out for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, declaring all hell would rain down on them. But despite US claims, as you heard there, that Iran's missile capability has been destroyed, the Iranians launched another ballistic missile attack on central Israel, injuring at least 6 people and damaging homes. Harry Fawcett is in Tel Aviv, where anti-war protesters are gathering tonight, and sent us this update a short time ago.
Well, we're here in central Tel Aviv, where many hundreds of people gathered for an anti-war protest, despite the fact they were told by police that they would have a maximum of 150 because of security concerns amid the continuing bombing from Iran. Protesters saying that was a pretext. There have been big gatherings at malls, on beaches throughout the day. The police continuing to clear the square at the moment. Less confrontational, less violence than we've seen in a couple of previous protests, but as you can see, they are still making sure that people get clear. The war itself continues. There have been 6 people injured in cluster munition bombings in central Israel. 1 Israeli soldier confirmed dead in Lebanon. Also confirmation that munitions landed near the defense headquarters here in Tel Aviv. But of course, all eyes remain on the war in Iran and where that goes next. More black smoke over Iran today, a signal perhaps of still further escalation. Israel striking a huge petrochemical compound in the southwest of the country, and from the US president who'd threatened to bomb it back to the Stone Age, a renewed ultimatum. Remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open up the Hormuz Strait? Time is running out, 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God.
So he's just said, fuck it, market open? Isn't that what it means? 48 hours is... He's doing the reverse of what he's done so far, which is like at market close, he starts doing saber rattling and escalations. Now he's just like, fuck it, we ball. New meta. Fuck it, market open. We're collapsing everything, you know? I guess that's what we're waiting on. He's going to taco again Monday morning. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not so certain that we're moving in the direction of de-escalation.
Iran's nuclear reactor at Bushehr also under fire, Iran says, for the 4th time. A perimeter wall struck, 1 person killed. Russia's atomic energy company saying 198 people had been evacuated from the site.
Yeah, weren't they sending, was it C-7, like the troops, troop transport? Were flying from, they were flying into the region as of last night. Trump says if Iran doesn't open the strait in 48 hours, then he's going to give them 5 more days. I work in Walter Reed and he and that bitch blowing it up with explosive diarrhea. Okay. Yeah. Massive deployment of the U.S. Air Force in the Middle East is taking place as we speak. C-17 transport aircraft are crossing the Atlantic and moving towards the Middle East. The second wave is already over Europe, heading towards the Eastern Mediterranean. They are transporting troops, heavy weapons, armored vehicles. This is the largest visible airborne troop movement since the beginning of the war. This is happening as of last night, or as of this morning. Another indication that we are, I think, amassing enough troop and heavy weapons, armored vehicle presence in the region that indicates, or there's at least consistent with a ground invasion. I think it was debunked. I mean, we have been steadily flying in troops. It's more than 50,000 at this point. So, you know, I just don't know how. I don't know how they do this, right? I don't know how they establish forward operating base anywhere. Like they're so far. They're so far from Iran. Like wherever they can, like the closest they can reach. Like the areas where they can like establish like headquarters would be Turkey, I guess, because Iranian missiles can reach Kuwait with ease, so you can't really establish a base there. They're clearly capable of striking faraway bases in Saudi Arabia, and that obviously is not going to work. There is a reason why they're basically they're chaining together strato tankers when they do these aerial bombardment campaigns, when they're not using their long-range missiles, right? I would go so far as to say the pot shots in the direction of Incirlik on Turkish soil was also a warning sign to America that, like, Turkey is also within striking distance if necessary. So where are they going to send? Where are they going to put the troops? Where are they going to establish headquarters? Like, where are they going to launch from? Right? It just there's no good options at all. Yeah, this is Chris Hedges on will there be a ground invasion of Iran with Colonel Larry Wilkerson. We'll take a look at that after this video is over. But Israeli Broadcasting Authority, from a diplomatic source, Israel and Russia coordinated the evacuation of Russian experts from the Iranian Bushehr station in what seems to be a secure exit corridor from Iran. This news agency is very dangerous. This news is very dangerous. May indicate that Israel may venture and target the Bushehr nuclear power plant in Iran. Also, Adolf Putler at it again. Instead of saying, "Hey, I'm going to use diplomatic pressure to ensure Israel doesn't strike nuclear plants," I'm going to totally concede that Israel has to strike nuclear power plants with Russian nationals in them. So we're just going to take the Russian nationals out. Wonderful. He's so weak. Adolf Putler? Is he weak, or is he also, as I've said over and over again, a massive Israel dick rider? What happened to the fucking Z pushers? Oh, you don't understand. Russia does a tremendous amount of aid. Look at what they did with Bashar al-Assad. They're an anti-imperialist force in the region. No, man. They just have their own regional ambitions. They're anti-West, but that doesn't mean they're anti-Israel. They've been super pro-Israel for many, many years. And even after the invasion of Ukraine, Israel was the only country that is in the orbit of the West, in the Western sphere of influence, that actually didn't develop negative relations with Russia at all. Where are they at? Look, I give props to Adolf Putler when he ships oil to Cuba, okay? That is a fantastic thing that he did. That is objectively a humanitarian need that's being addressed, okay? So fuck America for that. I mean, they're making Russia look good in comparison, right? But the reality of the matter is, when push comes to shove, Adolf Putler is just as pro-Israel as America is. Maybe not as pro-Israel as America is, but pretty pro-Israel all the same. A lot of, it's interesting because a lot of people who are both pushing Z and like super pro-Russia and say that Russia is like the most significant, consequential anti-imperialist force on the planet, and a lot of people on the NATO side think that Vladimir Putin has like negative associations with the state of Israel. That's just not the case. As a matter of fact, ACP initially was super pro Benjamin Netanyahu and pro Putler. I remember. I haven't forgotten that. Jackson Hinkle would talk about how Israel is going to play a formative role in the new multipolar world, right? That was real. That's a real thing that they did.
From the wreckage of a Tehran university, condemnation of the US and Israel.
They belong to the Stone Age for attacking institutions of science. A civilized country, a civilized government never targets institutions of knowledge.
Concern that Iran could, in response, intensify its attacks on regional infrastructure, dealing more damage to the global economy. Iran struck an international oil depot in southern Iraq today, even as its foreign...
Also, Putler has said over and over again, Israel is basically small Russia. Okay? In Israel, the third most commonly spoken language is not English. Okay? It goes as follows. It's Hebrew, Arabic, and then the third most commonly spoken language is Russian. English is the fourth most commonly spoken language in Israel. Okay? Just remember that. And yes, Adolf Putler has, time and time again, said that Israel is like a sister nation to Russia. So many Russian nationals live in Israel and have dual citizenship. Yeah, he said that because of the amount of Russians that live in Israel. I know. It's the third most common second language, not third most common language. Okay.
Minister said it was still open to talks. What we care about are the terms, he said. Tehran continuing to emphasize its key bargaining chip, its hold over the Strait of Hormuz, striking what it called an Israeli-linked vessel while allowing through ships bound for Iran.
Hassan and his Russia takes are famously bad, so I would suggest not listening to him. Russian opposition is run out of Israel. I like that my Russia takes piss off both the people who are on the leftmost position, leftmost flank, that say Russia is an anti-imperial force, and it objectively pisses off every pro-NATO dick rider, NatSec liberal. Okay, it's awesome.
This is a huge achievement for Iran that gives them control that they can use as leverage to get what they want. This is what they believe, but I think it's a mistake. It's internationalizing the world. A huge coalition is being built against Iran, which it does not have the diplomatic wherewithal to withstand it. And ultimately, it's going to cost Iran.
Israel's military releasing these images of what it said was the destruction of an Iranian mobile ballistic missile launcher. But US intelligence, according to CNN reporting, assesses Iran still retains half its missiles and attack drones. Residential areas in central Israel hit repeatedly today.
In Moscow, we have joke. Russian libtard is concerned with unjust invasion of Ukraine and flees the country to Israel. Yeah, it's a very good joke, tovarish.
By Iranian ballistic missiles releasing cluster munitions, harder to intercept, falling indiscriminately.
He came out unscratched because he listened to the home front command instructions. He was in a safe place.
Israel still striking southern Lebanon. This the aftermath of the latest attacks on the coastal city of Tyre, as Israeli troops cement what they call their security zone in the south of the country. But if there's to be a new phase of this war, it's likely to be here in Iran. New images of the US strike on a bridge on Thursday from the vantage of nearby picnickers. Donald Trump warning then, as now, of much more to follow.
Well, I've been speaking to Behnam Ben Taleblu, who is the Senior Director of the Iran Program and Senior Fellow at the Foundation of Defense of Democracies. I asked...
Let's get Benjamin Netanyahu's mouthpiece on our Channel 4 broadcast to explain to us how things are actually going swimmingly. FDD, for those of you who don't know, is directly an Israeli agency smack dab in the middle of fucking Washington, D.C., okay? Foundation for Defending Democracies, FDD, is an Israeli agency. It is a Mossad cutout. It is abso-fucking-lutely, unconditionally not only pro-Israel, but like pro-Benjamin Netanyahu, okay?
What the shooting down of the jet and the possibility of another being shot down tells us about where this war is at.
Well, more than a month into the conflict, it does show that the Islamic Republic of Iran does at least still possess some sort of residual air defense capability. The question is how much capacity, how much of that air defense threat exists, where is it, and what does it look like? Are these foreign-provided surface-to-air missiles? Are these Iranian copies of those that they've moved into underground bunkers alongside their mobile ballistic missiles, for example? And then third, if not, are these man pads? Are these shoulder-fired? And we've seen the ability of smaller, cheaper systems to get the best of larger, more expensive systems many times in the history of the Middle East. But this factor would have been brought about by those U.S. jets flying lower than ever before.
Iran says it's used a new air defense system to target these aircraft. What do you make of that?
It's unclear for now. I mean, the Islamic Republic...
Oh, it's just the lucky strike. That's, come on.
It certainly likes hyperbole. It would certainly be...
Richest socialist ever. Check his net worth. Me? You think I'm the richest socialist ever? Buddy. Let me tell you, there's a lot of historically, famously much wealthier socialists. But also, even right now, I don't even strike the top, like, 10,000 of the wealthiest socialists. First of all, you got straight up the entirety of the Communist Party in China, okay? Like, a lot wealthier communists exist on the planet, like, infinitely wealthier. And even a lot wealthier communists exist on U.S. soil. Maybe some of them are U.S. citizens that live in China even, you know. A lot of people.
Keen to engage in more hyperbole amid an ongoing conflict for deterrence purposes. But it depends what we mean by new. Sometimes the Islamic Republic cannibalizes older systems. Sometimes it marries to
Chinese political people are not rich. Buddy, what are you talking about? There's literally every billionaire in China is also a member of the party. Okay? What the fuck are you talking about? And that's just the billionaires. Every Chinese billionaire is a part of the Communist Party of China. That's number one. Every centimillionaire, every millionaire that is also still wealthier than I am is also a part of the Communist Party of China.
Together, it's patchwork of existing foreign and domestically produced systems.
They didn't become rich because of politics. Did I imply that? Did I say that?
So until we see more imagery and until we know more about the actual capabilities, we're going to have to take the regime statement here with a grain of salt.
And yet, Donald Trump and his Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told the world that America had total, complete, 100% dominance of the skies over Iran.
You can disable air defenses to enable major military operations without having to destroy every single unit. Ultimately, though, I think it's not one approach. It's a cocktail approach. Just after all, there is a difference between air superiority and air supremacy, and there's a difference between the Islamic Republic occasionally being able to fire off surface-to-air missiles or man-pads, as well as having a fully functioning integrated air and missile defense network.
How do you think this incident affects what America does next? Because let's not forget, and it's easy to forget, but there was supposed to be a deadline of April the 6th for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, or Donald Trump was going to...
Even Channel 4 is kind of cooking this guy, which is crazy, I guess.
Bomb them to oblivion or something.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the status of these deadlines are, particularly because they're married with a certain series of negotiations that occasionally the Islamic Republic denies publicly and then engages in privately. But that tells you about a certain level of confidence and a willingness to fight in this regime more than 1 month into the conflict. And there are no alternatives or pathways to victory other than degrading and destroying the regime's missile program, or ferrying out or destroying what's left of the nuclear material, the fissile material, or more importantly, as you mentioned, trying to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Anything else, I think, with respect, would be posturing, and therefore battlefield conditions, more than political timelines, will define what happens next.
Do you believe that the US is actually having indirect talks with someone who is mandated, who has the authority to represent Iran right now?
This is a regime that I liken now to being a zombie regime. It's headless, it's weak, but it's still lethal. But it is going in many different directions at once, and it's a real question if America does direct or indirect.
It's not, though. Like, there's only been 2 instances in the past 35 days where there has been inconsistent messaging coming from the Iranian side. One was obviously Pezeshkian, when he apologized to the Gulf states, right? And they very quickly packed that up. And then the other one is the former foreign minister, right? That wrote an article for the Foreign Policy magazine. That's it. And one is one is the current head of state technically, but obviously doesn't have a lot of power. He's just a symbolic person, right? And the other is a former. The other is a former foreign minister. So it's like, outside of that, especially with respect to the military goals that the IRGC is advancing, there hasn't been any sort of issues seemingly, or any sort of inconsistencies on their end at all. If anything, this is just wish casting. It kind of feels like they are more, they're more singularly minded on this issue than ever before. Because there are a lot of moderates and a lot of reformists in the past, some of which that got killed, ironically enough, that played a big role in in pushing for normalized relations with the Western world, no matter how much the Western world showed the Iranian government that they wanted they had no interest in normalizing relations at all. The negotiations were always led to failure and more destruction and more crippling sanctions. We taught the current existing Iranian government that reform is a failure. Reformists are wrong. They're delusional. We did that. And not only did we do that, but we also killed the people that were more pragmatic. And they were replaced by hardliners. Now, that works if you can Hamasify the Iranian government in the eyes of the Western world. But Iran is a sovereign state, and it is achieving its military objectives, and it has literally fought successfully for some form of sanctions relief now. So you can't really do that to a sovereign country in the same way that you can just avoid humanizing the Palestinian victims or the Palestinian resistance, or even talk to the Palestinian resistance, right? Same with Hezbollah, the Lebanese resistance. They're non-state actors, so you can just like present them as bad guys unconditionally, never really listen to what they have to say, never really account for their like the logic behind their actions or the demands that they make. But you can't really do that for the IRGC. You can't really do that for the Islamic Republic, because it is a sovereign country that has diplomatic relations with countries outside of the Western sphere of influence, and sometimes even with countries within the Western sphere of influence. Obviously not the same level of diplomatic relations that they can have, considering that the Western sphere of influence is still dominated by American foreign policy. Okay? There's nothing left to avoid in this stream. No ad breaks equals no avoiding necessary life. You trained us like Pavlovian dogs and left us in the dust. Yeah. What is this? The Ukraine takes galore. Buddy. No one fucking cares. The irony is, like, my Crimea position is like established as fact now, okay? I don't know why there are still like Ukrainian influencers that are like, oh, it's our opportunity to fucking once again talk about Hassan and claim he's like super fucking pro Vladimir Putin or whatever. It's just, this is a lost cause. In some ways, it's identical to the way people talk about Israel and like defending Israel in the Western world, you know? It's so ridiculous, okay? Anyway, Trump's going to come back from the hospital and say he's Jesus now resurrected. Trump is not in the hospital.
Direct negotiations. What is the guarantee that the Islamic Republic in a post-conflict scenario could even deliver factionally or bureaucratically with all the various component parts of the Islamic Republic be able to agree to that which is passed in direct or indirect negotiations? Those are all things everybody is going to be learning and watching in real time.
And finally, what do you make of the prospect of the possibility of American troops entering on the ground at this point?
If we look at the changing U.S. force posture in the region, the president traditionally does not simply bring assets into the region to let them sit there. So in the minds of some American watchers, it's more a matter of when rather than if there's some sort of a smaller raid or a special operations mission, other than a special operations mission or a search and rescue mission, I should say, to find the downed pilot. At this point in time, it's really anyone's guess in which direction the president may take that. And I would still say that's a low probability situation, but certainly a high impact one, and one that could be a game changer in the direction of this conflict.
Ben and Ben Taleblu, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
A month into the U.S. and Israel's war on Iran, one of Washington's goals rose to the top, seizing control of the Strait of Hormuz from Tehran. The growing number of U.S. troops and weapons being deployed to the region with the stated goal to break the Iranian restrictions on global shipping traffic and to end its nuclear program. Recently, the White House warned it would not be deterred.
They now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, We're their worst nightmare.
Iranian officials insist they'll never accept Trump's 15-point action proposal.
That
will only happen when the idea of acting against the Iranian nation is completely removed from your corrupt minds.
Even though Tehran sits some 10,000 kilometers away from Washington, its ability to match U.S. airstrikes matches its grip on the strait. In the first week of the war, Iranian warheads hit not just U.S. military, diplomatic, and economic targets in the region, but those of Washington's allies in the Gulf as well. 2 weeks in, the Iranian economic tsunami ramped up, crippling energy and natural resources exports from Gulf countries. And in this era of globalization, that means prices of everything from energy.
What is this? The Iran regime, editor-in-chief Val Monitor says, the Iran regime is growing more defiant and confident, not in a rush for negotiations or ceasefires, cutting side deals on Hormuz routes with French and Japanese ships crossing, maintains firing capabilities, clamping down domestically. This is the update as of 21 hours ago. At least 4 U.S. aircrafts damaged by Iran, U.S. crew member missing. Iran rejected meeting in Pakistan, according to Wall Street Journal. Rejected a 48-hour ceasefire, according to Fars. U.S. is striking Tehran. Israeli strikes continue. Kuwait, Iran targeted desalination plant, and UNSC vote on Bahrain resolution. Any idea, any kind of statement around like Iran flailing, Iran being destroyed, Iran being tattered, the regime losing its grip of power, like all this stuff is fucking wish casting. Okay? That's what it is wish casting. Iran is developing bilateral commitments that are going to shake up the Western world. Iran is almost single-handedly causing a lot of countries that want to, even aesthetically, look like they have some sort of sovereignty underneath the American security umbrella, to turn around and develop direct relations with a foreign adversary that America's waging war with. That's huge. It is the exact opposite of what Marco Rubio wanted. Marco Rubio was demanding that European diplomats apply pressure to Iran. That was a big part of the reason why they wanted to create a coalition of the willing, not because they like desperately need French ships or whatever. They wanted French diplomatic pressure, something that Iran does care about. Because as far as militarily, if you're Iran and you're fighting against America, you're fighting against the rest of the world, right? You're fighting against the entire Western world. So any kind of direct dealing, if you're France or any of these other European countries, or if you're these regional countries, regional powers like Pakistan, any kind of direct dealing with Iran is undermining American hegemony, okay? Directly undermining American hegemony. And it will cause the permission structure to expand for other countries as well. First is France, and then you'll see other countries also say, you know what, we're going to also deal with Iran directly. Okay, we have interest in the region. Even Trump saying, okay, like you deal with the Strait of Hormuz yourself, is unironically an admission of defeat in that regard, where it can be seen for European partners, American partners in Europe, that they're allowed to cut bilateral deals with Iran. Okay? Breaking reporting from Walter Reed. What is this? Ugh, stop. I hate this fucking... I hate the Walter Reed meta that everyone is like forcing. Okay. I mean, this is funny. Sad story. Trump, I'm having breast enlargement surgery. Byron Noam, I know. I love you. After surgery, when Trump woke up with only JD Vance next to him, Trump, where is he? You don't know who gave you the massive bazongas? What? Starts crying. That's right. It was Byron Noam who gave the breast enlargement to Donald Trump. He gave his breast disease to Donald Trump. Yeah, that's what took place. Y'all are dumb as hell, bro. Can we ban megaphonics, please? Libophonics
are rising from Europe to Asia and beyond. A month into the war, inflation is affecting economies far, far away, including that of the U.S. Indirectly, the Iranian long game of making the U.S. change course could convince the White House to start looking for an off-ramp. Many Americans now think the war has gone too far, especially as they struggle to afford rapidly rising fuel prices. But the White House insists the economic impact is short-term, thinking it can defeat Iran's strategy of hitting the U.S. where it hurts the most, in the nation's wallet. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, Washington.
I'm in the campus of Shahid Beheshti University, located in the northern parts of the Iranian capital, Tehran. And behind me, you can see actually the Institute for Plasma and Laser Research, which was heavily damaged as a result of this recent round of the continued campaign of the airstrikes by the Americans and Israelis. The amount of damage is unbelievably massive, not only to this building, but also where I was walking through the different parts of the campus, including a dormitory. And we know that this specific institute targeted is critically important. It was founded in 2003 by Dr. Tehranchi, the former head of the Azad University and one of the scientists of the country that was assassinated in the war that happened back in June. And right now we see that one of the institutes founded by him was impacted. And behind me, as you can see, this is the damage, the huge amount of damage to this building and the debris, the equipments related to this institute is all around.
Shahid means, well, in Turkish, I think it means witness, right? Shahid means martyr.
Around showing the huge amount of blast that took place. And, this is the scope of the airstrikes across the country that is expanding in a sense. And now there are growing concerns about the civilian infrastructure, specifically schools and universities being targeted. It is not the first one. We know that 3 other major universities, this is obviously the third one, being targeted. And right now you can see this is the building that right now you're seeing is not the institute, but the dormitory in which students used to live. Fortunately, we don't have the growing concern about the fatalities as students were outside for the Nowruz holidays. But still, speaking of the infrastructure, it is really massive. We know that prior to that, we've got the University of Science and Technology being targeted. The airstrikes by the Americans and Israelis put a huge amount of impact on that, and that is located in the eastern parts of the capital, where heavy bombardments have been happening over the past weeks. And related to that university also was Dr. Shamaghdari, one of the associate professors of Iran's University of Science and Technology, who was assassinated alongside with his 11 and 18-year-old children. The Iranian side is interpreting that as a war crime. It is interpreting that, according to the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a systematic attack on the academic foundations of the country, which is going on. We know that in addition to the 2 universities, this one and the one in the eastern part of the capital, there is also Isfahan University of Technology, which was also targeted a couple of days ago. And this is obviously the continuation of the actually attacks that are targeting the infrastructure of the country.
Why has Iran let this French cargo ship through now?
Yeah, let's take a look. Did you get your degree from there, Dr. Jihad? Yes. All right, before we get to the French commitment, top aides have privately made the case to President Trump in recent days that Iran's power generating facilities and bridges are legitimate military targets because destroying them could cripple the country's missile and nuclear programs, officials say. Insane. Okay? Insane. Trump is already flexing the bombs. The other one that I wanted to talk about is like with the way that like the Western press is covering this incident. The missing airman raises concerns that Iran can gain leverage over the U.S. Since 1979, Iran's government has repeatedly used hostage taking as a tactic against its adversaries. You cannot take a hostage. Like it's functionally not a hostage. Okay, this is not a civilian. Number one. This is an enemy of the state that is currently being bombed. This is a prisoner of war, okay? It's a totally separate designation. It's ridiculous. But of course, it's the same as people that said, this is my big, beautiful baby Israeli occupation force soldier was kidnapped from a fucking tank.
Let me take you through the other names who we know are being released. Could be happening right now. Matan Angres, 22 years old, a soldier in the IDF, kidnapped from a tank during a battle with...
Like, how can you say that, man? Kidnapped from a tank, kidnapped from an F-15, fighter pilot taken hostage. What are we doing? What are we fucking doing? Like, that's insane, dude. What do you mean they're taking them hostage? Brother, sister, MBs, listen. What the fuck do you think the F-15 fighter pilot was doing on Iranian airspace? He was on a fucking bombing mission. These guys are unbelievable with the way that they talk about this shit. Yeah, BBC is also doing it as well. This moment is fraught with risk and political peril. Our chief international correspondent writes, if the airman is taken hostage and images circulated, it will be a propaganda victory for Iran. Yeah, kidnapped for, you guessed it, being white. So many people are doing this, and it's not a mistake. It's deliberate, okay? Here's another insane take I got to read. The Economist and Bloomberg also called the downing of a fighter jet as an escalation by Iran. Everyone knows you're supposed to just let invading militaries bomb your universities, girls' schools, and apartment buildings that shoot, and that shooting back is an act of unhinged aggression. The New York Times described Iran's normal act of self-defense, shooting down American jets that are bombing their fucking country, as an escalation from Iran's leadership. Augmenting people's anxiety are the recent escalations from Iran's leadership. On Friday, Iran shot down an American fighter jet in the southwest part of the country. What the fuck? It's incredible that you have the audacity to type those words out and put it out there. You believe your audience is stupid. And perhaps they might be, okay? But remember, these are some of the most educated people in the country, because the overwhelming majority of the country don't fucking read at all and aren't even literate, right? So even the most educated liberals are reading the New York Times and developing this framework, developing this perspective without even second guessing themselves, without even thinking about it, without thinking critically about it. The Economist editor shared an unsourced claim that this health center, famous for his vaccine research, was producing biological weapons. When this was pointed out, he defended himself and deleted it without explanation. Now that the IDF has simultaneously denied and refused to explain why it directly struck the center, I hope he will clarify to his readers his own comments. He's not going to, because he doesn't have to, right? And the same thing happened on October 7th when they were like, oh, 40 decapitated babies. 40 decapitated babies. Hamas decapitated children. They lit children on fire. Like they lined them up and then lit them on fire. Like all this nonsense, right? Like atrocity propaganda to justify what came after, justify the genocide. Western imperialism has one trick, okay? Greatly increasing the delusional atrocity propaganda in an effort to claim that our victims in the crosshairs, many of which are civilians, by the way, are actually barbaric. Okay, they're barbaric. They're barbaric, and they deserve to be brought to heel through violence, through our barbaric violence. It's very clear that that is the purpose. That's what the purpose of this this kind of propaganda is, right? But going back to this, kidnapped from a fucking tank. If you're invaded, thousands of your people are killed, your infrastructure destroyed, and your leadership is wiped out, says Adam Johnson, in a sneak attack, anything short of you doing this to the enemy in response cannot by definition be an escalation. That's how language works. That's how words work. Capturing POWs, prisoners of war, bombing your population is, of course, not hostage taking. Okay? He was just a 32-year-old bombing a college dorm. BBC is also calling the American prisoner of war a hostage. ABC News Australia is also calling the downed prisoner of war a potential hostage. Abby Phillips also said it. Ostensibly straight reporter Alex Michelson also refers to downed pilot as potential hostage. Like, there is an implicit bias here that a lot of these people don't recognize. And if they were to go against the grain, they would probably get punished for it. They'd probably get yelled at. Nathan J. Robinson says, let's be clear at the outset. If Iran holds a U.S. pilot, that person is a prisoner of war, not a hostage. The terminology matters, and we should insist that the media use the correct language for the situation. And also understand that our countrymen, okay, our citizens, our soldiers, flying those F-15s over Iranian airspace are not there on a leisure mission, okay? They're not there for innocent goals. We are blowing up their schools. We are blowing up their energy facilities. We are destroying their bridges. We're murdering children. That's what those F-15 fighter jets are doing, okay? It's totally fucking ridiculous. We are doing terrorism. Just because none of our foreign adversaries have either had the interest or the weaponry to be able to do to us what we have done to others doesn't change that dynamic at all. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent in this. You can't just only remember international rules of combat, international human rights, when it's something that it's something that like our foreign adversaries are violating, okay? And not only are we attacking Iran unjustifiably, right? And Iran is defending itself justifiably, we also engaged in this attack through perfidy, through a negotiations process where the stated objectives that we seemingly had for even bombing Iran now were actually accomplished through the diplomatic route. Okay? But it turns out we had no real interest in accomplishing these goals of, like, you know, taking out their nuclear program in any significant manner. We just simply wanted to bomb them. Israel wanted to bomb them, and so we wanted to bomb them as well. Israel had a goal of destabilizing and destroying Iran, and we went along for the ride. Please stop giving a platform to Angel Fish of the Woods idiotic hate. What the fuck is Angel Fish of the Woods idiotic hate? What are you saying? They commented on Nathan J. Robinson's post. Oh, who cares, man? What the hell? It was just an account that was replying to Nathan J. Robinson. Who cares? Okay. It's just so totally ridiculous. Like, I understand that it is hard for many people to shed themselves of this social conditioning, this us versus them mentality, to see the humanity in the citizens of countries in the periphery, people living in designated enemies of our state. But you have to understand these are human beings, okay? Just like you and I. They have dreams, they have goals, they just want to survive, they want to live normal lives, okay? And our countrymen, people that we know, are going there and bombing their fucking schools, killing their children. Of course they have a right to retaliate. Of course they have a right to defend themselves. The idea that, like, because it's our countrymen that's automatically a hostage is fucking ridiculous, okay? Shed yourself of this idiotic propaganda. Seriously. It's ironic because when I say stuff like this, people turn around and say, oh, you fucking, you know, you love the enemy. You're a terrorist. It's like, no, we are the terrorists in this situation. Sorry, it's just the truth. What do you call it when you blow up a fucking school? It's terrorism. It doesn't matter if the school's an Iranian school. It doesn't matter if the school's an American school. It's terrorism just the same. Mohammed Safa says, if the United States is at war, then Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. If the United States is not at war, then Pete Hegseth is a murderer. What Pete Hegseth ordered the military to do violates international law. Double tap strike on the B-1 bridge in Iran while the rescue team were on site is succession to target first responders assisting victims of the initial attack. Under the Geneva Conventions, you are obligated to rescue victims of the first attack. Abandon any survivors and bombing them along with the rescue teams is illegal, immoral, and a war crime. Like, blowing up that B-1 bridge is no different than someone blowing up the Golden Gate Bridge with cars going through it. Just because other countries don't have that capability, nor the ambition, if they do have the capability, doesn't change that dynamic at all. Okay? It's the same shit. It's ridiculous. It's very, very frustrating. I agree there's a bias, but how much of this is just people not having a better word to describe what they mean? Because honestly, hostage is the first word that comes to my mind, even though I don't think the pilot is innocent at all. I told you there's a term for it. It's called a prisoner of war. That's why I'm saying there's a correct term for it. Okay? Just as there's a difference between fighting back in self-defense, right? And taking out an assailant who's like trying to kill you versus going out and murdering someone, right? Because you wouldn't be comfortable with the term murder if someone actually was being attacked and they successfully defended themselves, right? The same goes for this. There's a difference between someone who is a hostage and someone who's a prisoner of war. And I know for a fact that professional journalists know that distinction, okay? These aren't random Americans. These are fucking journalists. These are professional journalists. There's a style guide. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that style guide is what is causing a lot of journalists to say it this way, to use these terms rather than the appropriate terms.
It's big news, isn't it? And just keep bringing our viewers up to date. Why we concentrate.
Yeah, it brings a human dimension to the war, says Sky News military analyst about a missing American pilot from the F-15 jet. Has Sky News ever raised that same human dimension about the U.S. and Israel carpet bombing Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran? No. It's shocking how openly and repeatedly the Western media tells you that they simply do not consider brown people to be human. Among the first casualties of this war were 160 Iranian school children, but it takes a lost U.S. pilot to bring a human dimension to the slaughter. This is the implicit bias in full display. Recognize it, learn from it, okay, and don't repeat it. And check people when they engage in it as well. Because this person says it, and they live in polite society. They don't even think about what they just said. They don't think that this is a disgusting statement to make. Okay? Because there is that shared bias that we all have. I talked about this with respect to Islamophobia yesterday extensively, right? When everyone shares that same resentment, it's very difficult to explain to people why that shared resentment is wrong, even if it totally is wrong, even if it's totally bigoted. Our guys are human beings. They have dreams, they have souls, they represent humanity. Our enemies are just a blob. They're collateralized, okay, at most. At best, they are just collateral damage. Oh, well, it happened. It's sad, right? At worst, they deserved it.
Yeah, it's big news, isn't it? And just keep bringing our viewers up to date. Why are we concentrating on one jet and one aircrew? Well, it's because tactically it's not really significant, but strategically, if Iran manages to find the aircrew first, then the danger is we go down a path which we went down in the Gulf War when Flight Lieutenant John Peters, how we had him on earlier, he was paraded propaganda, and it touched the whole world, and it suddenly brings a human dimension to the war. So at the moment, yeah, it's big news, isn't it? And just keep bringing our viewers up to date. Why are we concentrating on one jet and one aircrew? Well, it's because tactically it's not really significant, but strategically, if Iran manages to find the aircrew first, then the danger is we go down a path which we went down in the Gulf War when Flight Lieutenant John Peters, how we had him on earlier, he was paraded propaganda, and it touched the whole world, and it suddenly brings a human dimension to the war. So at the moment, yeah, it's big news, isn't it? And just keep bringing our viewers up to date. Why are we concentrating on one jet and one aircrew? Well, it's because tactically it's not really significant, but strategically, if Iran manages to find the aircrew first, then the danger is we go down a path which we went down in the Gulf War when Flight Lieutenant John Peters, how we had him on earlier, he was paraded propaganda, and it touched the whole world, and it suddenly brings a human dimension to the war. So at the moment, yeah, it's big news, isn't it? And just keep bringing our viewers up to date. Why are we concentrating on one jet and one aircrew? Well, it's because tactically it's not really significant, but strategically, if...
Sorry. I was looking at something on my phone.
Well,
there's
and how did the ship get through? That's the question there, Catherine. Here's what's interesting about this story. It's not the fact the ship sailed through the Strait of Hormuz, right? There have been dozens of ships which have been able to sail through the Strait of Hormuz, the very dangerous, treacherous run. Most of those, almost all of them, have been affiliated with either Iran, with the UAE, with China, with India, with Saudi Arabia, so-called friendly or not hostile nations, i.e. certainly not Western European nations, certainly not the United States. So how'd the French ship get through? Well, according to shipping data, and remember, like you said, this was a French shipping group which owned this ship, and it apparently entered the Strait of Hormuz and took a route very close to an Iranian island called Larak Island. And why is that significant? Because Lloyd's List is actually referred to it, and they track shipping and shipping data. They refer it to Tehran's toll booth, meaning that taking that route implies that ships that pass by Larak Island have been granted permission. And why?
Uh-oh. Urgent. Tasnim agency citing an Iranian military source. U.S. forces are bombing areas where their missing pilot may be located in the southwest of the country. Oh, shit. Remember what I said? Remember what I said yesterday? What did I fucking tell you yesterday? What did I tell you yesterday, motherfucker? Oh, oops. How did the Israel... I bet you it's not even the American forces doing it. I bet you it's the Israeli ones. I bet you they're going to be like, oh, the wires got crossed. I can't believe we fucking killed our brave soldier. How did that happen? I wasn't here yesterday. What was it? I said they're going to try their best to recover this pilot. And I could totally see a reality where they give up on recovering the pilot and instead maybe send the coordinates to Israeli Air Force fighter pilots who then bomb that area and implement Hannibal Doctrine. America probably won't implement the Hannibal Doctrine personally, right? Because that's a bridge too far. I don't think America would do it. But if Israel kills the American pilot if Israel were to kill the American pilot on an accident, they can just turn around and blame the IRGC, first of all, because that will be the goal. And then when the dust is settled, no fucking way you did say that yesterday, lol. Yep. That's why Piker Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today. Okay. I don't think the American military will do a deliberate attack with their own forces. I mean, if they did, that would mean something. That would mean that we've moved beyond what previous American military doctrine. It looks like we're just totally behaving like Israel. Like buddy fucking and stuff happens, obviously, in the American military, but like this is a totally separate. This is like a deliberate attempt to kill their own fighter pilot because they can't extract him successfully, and they just don't want him to be a pawn. They don't want him to turn into a prisoner of war that Iran will use for propaganda purposes. They can't let that happen because at that point it's a major liability. So instead of continuing to attempt to rescue him, they turn around and they give Israel the coordinates, maybe, and then the Israeli Air Force blows it up, and then they blame Iran for it. This is 100% speculation. Yes, I'm telling you what I suspected could happen yesterday. Now there's at least one point of evidence thus far that what I suspected could happen yesterday might be happening today. That's the point. Pilot dies on Iranian soil. You can blame Iran for it. You can just claim that it's Iran that killed the pilot. Look at how violent they are. Look at how bloodthirsty they are. And then the dust settles, and obviously there's an autopsy that's conducted, and they find out that it was most likely an Israeli bombing that took place. And a month later down the line, there's a New York Times report on it. Maybe 2 months later, there's a New York Times reporter of the failed attempts to capture this brave pilot, where what happened, and then they like follow it along, and they find out all the things that I'm just telling you right now. If they actually successfully killed this dude, Hassan, stop the propaganda. Fucking hell, man! If they share the coordinates, it will be with a note clearly saying, "Don't bomb here." Jeez, man. Yeah, no, definitely, you're right. Yeah, they would share the coordinates of the pilot, which Israel already has. They have already shared the coordinates of the pilot with Israel for deconfliction. But who's to say Israel, who's to say what Israel does with those coordinates, Just saying. The U.S. is deploying most of its long-range JASSM-ER stealth missiles for the Iran war, pulling them from global stockpiles. Only about 425 remain available worldwide out of 2,300 pre-war. These missiles have been heavily used, over 1,000 the first month, reducing reserves meant for other conflicts. Replacing them could take years, source Bloomberg. Nice. Yeah, they sent a note to Israel saying, do not use the Hannibal directive here. Okay? Isn't killing your own pilot worse propaganda than the IRGC capturing them? Americans are the most propagandized country on the planet. Many of them will believe that it was IRGC and the violent, bloodthirsty murderers that didn't even take the pilot as a prisoner of war and instead slaughtered him. What are you talking about? Yeah. Just one soldier. Infinitely a larger liability if he's alive and captured alive and is a prisoner of war that the Iranians can use as propaganda. Okay? Anyway, let's continue.
Because they paid the toll. They paid for it. What's interesting there is, if it is confirmed that the French paid for its ship to get through, not only would this be the first instance of a ship owned by a Western European shipping company being able to sail through the Strait of Hormuz, it would presumably also be the first instance in which they paid for it, and would really be, in a sense, a snub. Right back at Donald Trump, who famously said in his address, which didn't really say much the other night. He basically said to the Europeans, go get it. Go get the oil. Don't be cowardly. It's theirs for you to take. And essentially what the French are saying is, no, easier said than done, Mr. President. We're not going to get the oil because it's treacherous and we'd be putting our ships and our crews in imminent lethal jeopardy. But we will try to get oil through, as you suggest, but we will pay for it to make sure that it's done safely. So implicitly, the message from France, if it's borne out that they paid for the ship to pass through, is, you know what? Here's the new world you created, Mr. Trump, Mr. President. And in your new world, guess what? Ships like ours, French, European, U.S. ships now have to pay for the right of passage for the Strait of Hormuz. That was not the reality before the war started, when passing through that strait was free.
Unintended consequences. Doug, thank you so much. That's our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert.
The road. All right. Now let's look at Chris Hedges. Will there be a ground invasion of Iran with Colonel Larry Wilkinson?
The contradictory statements emanating from the Trump White House about the war on Iran are evidence of panic. This panic, caused by the inability to halt Iranian attacks, open the Strait of Hormuz, or cope with a mounting global financial crisis, means the Trump administration is now considering conducting ground operations, perhaps attempting to seize the Persian Gulf islands of Abu Musa and the Greater and Lesser Tums, Larak, and Karg Islands. The United States has deployed the Tripoli Amphibious Ready Group with the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, composed of about 3,500 sailors and Marines, in addition to transport and strike fighter aircraft, as well as amphibious assault and tactical assets. It has deployed the Boxer Amphibious Ready Group with about 2,500 Marines equipped with F-35B Lightning II stealth fighters, MV-22B Osprey tilt rotors, and attack helicopters. The U.S. has also deployed 2,000 paratroopers of the 1st Brigade Combat Team of the 82nd Airborne and is reportedly considering augmenting these forces with another 10,000 troops. What will a ground attack look like? How risky will be air or amphibious assaults? Will these assaults result in large casualty rates? Can they force Iran to capitulate? Will they reopen the Strait of Hormuz to international shipping? What will such an assault, especially on Karg Island, which lies 16 miles off Iran's coast and processes 90% of the country's oil exports, mean for the global economy? Or will a ground war, rather than end the conflict, widen and prolong it? Will we find ourselves sucked into a quagmire as we did in Iraq and Afghanistan, one that perhaps will end in humiliating defeat? If U.S. troops land on one or more of these Iranian islands, how effective will Iran's anti-ship cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, underwater drones, and mines be in thwarting an assault or an occupation? The Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group has so far stayed out of range of Iran and operates in the Arabian Sea. Could it move closer to support an amphibious assault? Is an amphibious assault so risky that the only way to take these islands will be from the air? And if U.S. forces did occupy one or more of these islands, what kind of damage could Iran's surface-to-air missiles and air defense drones inflict? How would U.S. forces on these islands obtain logistical support given the difficulty of maneuvering in the narrow strait? Joining me to discuss what may be the next stage of the war on Iran and its potential consequences is Lawrence Wilkerson, a retired Army colonel and the former Chief of Staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell. He is a Vietnam War veteran who attended Airborne School, Ranger School, and the Naval War College, and who, as a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, logged over 1,000 hours on combat missions. He went on to serve as Deputy Director of the Marine Corps War College at Quantico and was Executive Assistant to Admiral Stuart A. Ring, United States Navy Pacific Command, and Director of the United States Marine Corps War College. He has taught at the College of William and Mary and George Washington University. He is a senior fellow at the Eisenhower Media Network, a group of former military, intelligence, and civilian.
Why are we listening to an objective war criminal? What do you mean? Who better to talk about American military failures than a guy who personally was responsible for them? Like, this is such a stupid argument to make. It's his fucking job. He's qualified. He has done these war crimes personally. He has an incredibly long career in conducting war crimes. Perhaps the best person to deliver insider information, showcasing American capabilities, showcasing American failures. He has real life experience.
National security officials who describe themselves as offering alternative analyses untainted by Pentagon or defense industry ties and countering Washington's establishment narrative.
It's so funny when people would be like, why are we listening to an objective war criminal? It's like, yeah, you're right. We should listen to you instead. Like, listen, this is important, okay? It's important, especially if your goal is to develop a better understanding of what's going on and develop a better understanding of what the future holds, okay? You have to do this in your analysis. It's very stupid to just go, no, I'm just going to stay an outsider. I don't care, okay? In some ways, it's not really all that different than the way that, like, dumb fuck liberals would be like, why are you listening to Hamas? Why are you listening to the IRGC? Why are you showing what they're saying? It's like, I don't know, maybe because I want to fucking understand what's going on and make better analysis on what could happen. It's ridiculous.
On most national security issues of the day. So before we begin with some of the specific questions that I raised in the introduction, just give us your view, Larry, of where we are with this war.
Her, they don't lie. You're a dumb fuck liberal law, Mr. Newsom.
The President and the Secretary of War Defense have not been very articulate in expressing what their mission is and what their purpose is. But let me back up for a moment and paint a little geostrategic landscape that I think is behind this war and is not talked about by many people, primarily, I think, because they don't understand it historically or currently. We really are, for some reason, actually trying to stop China from executing its probably, potentially at least, most dangerous space road initiative to our interest. Now, that assumes that it is inimical to our interests. I think we have made that assumption. That road would come up through Iran and trace Alexander the Great's route all the way up through what would be the 1,875 or so miles of shoreline on the Persian Gulf on the eastern side, and all the way up to the Caucasus. It would link China's Pacific ports, just as the other three Base Road Initiative railroads do through Russia and the Caucasus, with Europe in a way that would reduce its shipping time from something like a day and a half to 2 days, depending on which way you go, to about 16 hours. Trains have already plied these railroads, including the one going through the southern part of Iran. If that happens, then all maritime nations, leading of which is the United States, of course, the protector of the seas, will no longer have seas really worth protecting in the sense of commerce, because commerce will be basically landborne. At least 60% of it will come out of Asia and go to Europe and elsewhere on the land. You'll have to get on some kind of boat to get to South America, I guess, but nonetheless, this is a monumental change, and it's one we're fighting tooth and nail. Whether Donald Trump knows any of this or Pete Hegseth knows any of this, I have no idea. But that is, I think, behind a lot of what we're doing. It's also behind Ukraine, because Ukraine stopped the very central railroad, which was already making 16-hour trips into the heart of Europe, going all the way to Bremerhaven and Le Havre and other places like that, critical to European trade, if it were not adumbrated, as it were, by the war going on in Ukraine. So, and think about that for a moment as to why Joe Biden and others, Blinken and Sullivan, might have had some reason for doing Ukraine, as it were, rather than what they've been telling us or what they did tell us. This is all about China, and it's all about...
Yeah, I mean, the one aspect of what he's saying that I don't understand is that, like, opening up new land routes by rail is always going to be good for Chinese commerce in the One Belt One Road initiative, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a direct alternative to the profoundly important seaborne travel. Like, that's not, like, there's a reason why we still utilize these tankers, because it's, you know, you could put a lot of fucking oil barrels on it. They're more susceptible to interception by land. There's that too, in comparison to by sea. But ultimately, you know, I don't think it'll undermine shipping.
Stopping China.
It's far too efficient as a mode of transportation, especially for a lot of stuff.
Which is to say, I'm not sure that any of this administration that is functioning in front of us every day knows anything about this, other than that their masters have told them to do this. And we can
Bro's laughing. It's giving him funny. Okay, you guys already fucking decided, like, this guy's a bad guy. He's actually pretty decent. It is contemporary analysis. Okay, shut the fuck up, please.
About who their masters are back in the shadows, but I think that's ultimately what we're looking at. So it's much more consequential in this struggle between the rising power and the declining power, and there's no question about that now, than people think or know. And so it has these ramifications that make things that look tactically and even operationally stupid at the moment, and yet are tied to this much bigger tapestry of geopolitical and geostrategic reality.
It's like the same energy as, like, yelling at fucking Jeffrey Sachs for his responsibility in, like, literally pillaging the USSR. Okay, okay, it's fine. You know, it's not great, but just listen to what he has to say, please, without constantly fucking chirping. It's the same as, like, why are you reading the Financial Times? you have to do that. Okay.
Damn, this guy's good.